In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is Blood Politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is Blood Politics.
All right, what's up, guys? How we doing? Welcome to the show. Welcome back. Hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. What's going on, chat? Weird day today. I got to tell you. Today's just one of those days where it seems like there's so much going on. It's hard to pinpoint and just kind of, buckle down to things that you want to discuss because everybody's all over the place. There's so much going on inside the United States, outside the United States. They got this country in a mess. They got the world in a mess right now. It's hard to pinpoint just which direction we want to go. And today is just one of those days as a podcaster, again, with his so much going on and the Republicans trying to use the Clintons as a distraction, even though the guy that we should be focused on is sitting in the White House right now, the Oval Office, and the cover-up that is going on between the FBI and the DOJ and the White House. But we'll be digging into it because obviously everybody's talking about it. But what do you say we bring in the chat first? What's going on, chat? What's happening, guys? How are you? Welcome in. Filter in, one and all. What's going on, Peter? What's going on, my brother? How's everybody? What's going on, Alyosha? What's going on, Jackie? Hello, Alvin. Oh, that's not Alvin. That's Peter again. But there's Alvin. Hi, Alvin. I agree. I second that. What's going on, Patui? What's going on, Yakov? Hey, Twig. What's going on, guys? What's up, Zircon? What's going on? Hi to all the mods as well as usual. A lot to speak about. Again, just too many things going on to try to pinpoint one or, to try to make a theme of the show. You know what I mean? I try to make everything a little bit as coherent and as consistent as possible when we do these shows, but sometimes it's incredibly difficult to try to keep that, consistent. Oh, Nola, thank you so much. I appreciate that right off the bat. Right off the get-go, Nola throwing in 20, and you guys can do the same thing via Venmo, Super Chat, Super Sticker, just like Nola. I appreciate you guys. And everybody that have been contributing memberships and sending in Venmos, you guys have continuously been unbelievable and amazing, and I just want to make sure that you are appreciated. What's going on, Colleen? How are you? Oh, Peter, right behind you. Right behind Nola with a little bit of gifted sub action. Appreciate that, Peter. Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Oh, hi from Southern California, right back at you. Hi, Colleen. What's going on, T? How are you, T? What's up, Jazz Maniac? What's going on, everybody on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube? Make sure you're hitting that like button. All right, let's get into a few of the stories that we'll be talking about today. And once again, thank you to the mods for everything that you guys do. Make sure that you guys feel as appreciated as you should be. But all right, let's throw a couple things on the screen. It's crazy. It's crazy nowadays trying to figure out what the hell. Let's start off with this because this kind of goes along with the video I made the other day and what everybody had been talking about since and kind of what we expected to come from the White House. They were going to use this public persona that they had been given. They were going to use this kind of gift that they were given by the men's hockey team to the best of their advantage. And that's exactly what they did when the White House official TikTok posted this video of Brady Tkachuk. It's an AI video of him saying, quote, teaching those maple syrup eating fucks a lesson, end quote, in which Brady Tkachuk had to respond to this by saying that it wasn't him, it wasn't his voice, not something that he would say. But again, this is how the White House uses the moments like this, and this is exactly why they would have been much better off, obviously, declining the invitation and not using themselves and putting themselves in a position to be used as political pawns. Because that's exactly what's going to continue to happen. Much like, let me get the chat out of the way. My apologies. You guys deserve some time too, though. So all good. But just like, what was it? Who's the podcaster there that the DHS used his, they used his likeness. They used his video, Theo Vaughn, right? Remember when Theo Vaughn and he came out and he had a problem because they used his, his video. I forget what it was now. I forget if it was a promotional video or if it was AI. I'm forgetting exactly. But they used his likeness in a video describing, taking people and removing people out of the country. And he didn't care for that. He didn't like that. So similar things were going to happen. But when you sit down with the president, when you're the person that gives the president airtime on your podcast, you're throwing yourself into that position. So again, it's tough to have sympathy and empathy for people like this. But again, this is the video that they posted. It's only a couple seconds long. I don't think I should have any trouble with the song they play in the background because there's talking going over it. But they also play Leonard Skinner's Freebird in the background to make it even more douchey. Check this out.
They booed our national anthem, so I had to come out and teach those maple syrup eating fucks a lesson. Canada, we own you, lil bro.
So he said they booed our national anthem, so we had to come out and teach those, quote, maple syrup eating fucks a lesson. You know what I mean? So clearly an AI video, but posted by the official White House TikTok account tells you exactly and everything that you need to know about this situation and how they intend to use this, again, this publicity that they've been given, this gift that they were given by the men's hockey team to their advantage. And again, this is going to continue to happen. I guarantee it. And these people are going to have to defend it and talk about how it's AI. But still, it's the White House. They're posting it. How can you answer any questions about that? So again, I was not surprised to see that posted again by the White House TikTok account, putting these people in exactly the position that they seem to have put themselves in. Right, just being used as political pawns, being used in a political show, some political theater in this whole thing. Meanwhile, the girls were an afterthought. Meanwhile, the women's team didn't get a phone call for 3 days afterwards. And when they were mentioned, it was in a joking fashion that the men's team found utterly hilarious. Not only that, but they had ample time afterwards to recognize exactly what's going on in this country and what it represents to shake hands with these people, to sit down with these people, and to applaud these people. Even though what's going on in the streets of America, what's going on with the Epstein files, what's going on with our NATO allies, all of these things, the corruption, stealing off of the backs of the American people, the tariffs that have cost Americans, who knows how much money, even though we're going to have to refund that money now to the businesses and the corporations anyway, because it's now been ruled and deemed by the Supreme Court to be illegal and unconstitutional, even though Donald Trump raised tariffs to 15%. It's all a fucking mumbled jumbled mess. It really is. But again, not a surprise to see that. I also wanted to dive into this because we've also been talking a lot about the possibility of some shenanigans going on, let's just say, with the midterm elections and even further going into the general election. I mean, we've seen a lot of, not little, but different circumstances all around the country that kind of lead us to believe that something may be going on behind the scenes. And now the Washington Post is reporting that Trump is seeking to use executive power over elections. And is urged to declare a state of emergency. He was actually questioned about this morning, I believe, when he was getting onto the chopper at the White House. And I'll play you his response. But I did want to put this on the screen, and I'll share this because this was Pondering Politics. Shout out to Josiah over there at Pondering Politics. Threw out a video pretty quickly about this whole situation. He does a pretty good recap. So I figured, for the sake of time, we'll use his video and his great reporting and his great work that he did in this to kind of explain the situation. And again, just another aspect in which we've been pointing to that would lead us to believe that something is taking place, right? Whether it's the quid pro quos they've been giving different states on, the use of ICE and DHS and handing over voter rolls. There's been multiple different aspects that we could talk about in which it's clear that they're, focusing in on elections. The Fulton County raid, with Tulsi Gabbard's interference in that. I mean, there's a whole list of things. So let's dive into a little bit of Pondering Politics here. Josiah's video titled Emergency Trump Election Rigging Planned Leaks. So let's dive into this. I appreciate it. And again, once more, shout out to Josiah. Credit where credit is due here.
True. But what made it even more disturbing.
Oh, you know what? I probably should start from the beginning. I watched a few minutes of it and I figured, you know what? Let's catch up together. All right, let's dive in.
We have emergency bombshell breaking news, courtesy of the exclusive reporting of the Washington Post. And that news is this. MAGA conspiracy theorists have been caught coordinating with the upper echelons of the Trump administration, circulating a draft executive order intended to grant Donald Trump a national emergency to expand presidential power over voting, allowing him to single-handedly ban mail-in balloting and voting machines. All
right, so in case you're just listening there on the screen, he's got a tweet up there from the Washington Post titled Exclusive. Pro-Trump activists are circulating a draft executive order alleging Chinese interference in the 2020 election, proposing a national emergency to expand presidential power over voting, like banning mail ballots and voting machines, something that we've long heard Donald Trump rail against, long heard Republicans rail against mail-in voting and the voting machines, the use of the voting machines to the best of their ability to try to, muddy the waters as far as that's concerned. But I mean, just in case you're listening, I want to make sure everybody's following
in
along.
an effort to help Trump rig the November midterms and the 2028 presidential election. This is a true red alert moment, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. Folks, you'll recall during our coverage of the State of the Union with Jessica Tarlov and the day after, I mentioned that the scariest part about Trump's State of the Union was his declaration, which he's made multiple times before, that the only way Democrats can ever win elections is if they cheat. And that's bullshit. It's not true. But what made it even more disturbing at the time during the State of the Union is the fact that every Republican lawmaker in the Senate and the House who attended the State of the Union stood and applauded the lie, signaling that Donald Trump and the Republican Party, the ones in power, are intending to rig future elections away from the Democratic Party, and if the Democrats win elections regardless, to deny and refuse to accept the outcome. This goes a long way to corroborating that claim. So let's dive in. Trump seeking executive...
And again, before he dives in there, it sounds exactly like something that we've been looking to keep our eye on this entire time. I mean, again, these little bits and pieces that we've been talking about, that it's like, okay, something's definitely going on behind the scenes. I can't give you, the exact plan. I don't know the exact kind of tactics they're going to try to use. But it seems like when you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, there's definitely some motion, some activity behind the scenes of people, tasked specifically on figuring out how they could kind of go around the laws as far as the midterms elections are concerned, to either, again, make sure that they don't lose as big as they know they're going to lose, or just outright steal the entire thing to make it so that they don't lose any power. You know what I mean? So there's two kind of options in that. I don't know exactly. Maybe he dives into it here. Like I said, I only watched a little bit of this. I wanted to catch up with you guys. So let's continue.
Power over elections is urged to declare emergency. Activists who say they're in coordination with the White House are circulating a draft executive order that would unlock extraordinary presidential power over polling. Trump activists who say they're in coordination with the White House are circulating a 17-page draft executive order that claims China interfered with the 2020 election as a basis to declare a
17 pages. You know what I mean? So this isn't like some, quick memo, some one page, one paragraph, one sentence memo sent around like, hey, maybe we should try this. This is a detailed, in-depth, really thought about 17-page draft clearly being sent around to say, hey, we should probably say China had some interference, or at least play that up so that we can use those powers in the upcoming elections to our benefit.
National emergency that would unlock extraordinary presidential power over voting. Donald Trump has repeatedly previewed a plan to mandate voter ID and ban mail-in ballots in November's midterm elections. And remember, Trump also said that if he can't get Congress to do it, he insists that he will be able to do it via executive order. Keep that in mind, because I think it all fits together. And the activists expect their draft will figure into Trump's promised executive order on the issue. The White House declined to elaborate on Trump's plans. Quote, under the Constitution, it's the legislatures in the states that really control how a state conducts its elections, and the president doesn't have any power to do.
Oh, thanks, Peter. Peter in the chat says, we the people voted during the Civil War, both wars, all weather events, 9/11 pandemic. We the people vote now. F. Donald J. Trump. I concur, Peter. Much appreciated for your contributions, my friend, as always. Thank you so much. Shout out to you, my man.
That said Peter Tickton, a Florida lawyer who is advocating for the draft executive order. So he recognizes that the Constitution explicitly grants the power to states and their legislatures, and now he's trying to seize it.
And again, before we dive into any more of this, let me just show you kind of the reaction that Trump had when he was questioned on this, because I think this is very telling as well, because the way he kind of responds to, the reporter coming up with the question about the Washington Post article here, he doesn't seem to have any idea how she knows about this. Again, maybe we could be reading a little bit too much into it, but again, I think this reaction kind of says a lot in my instance. So here's Donald Trump being questioned, I think it was this morning, if I'm not mistaken, about this exact Washington Post article, and you can hear his response. It's tough to hear, obviously, because of the helicopter in the background, but she says, sir, are you considering a national emergency when it comes to elections? And he says, who told you that? Right? He doesn't deny it right off the bat. He doesn't say, something else, one of his, memorized lines that he usually comes up with about, hey, where are you from? Who are you with? That's typically what he goes with. If he's asked a question he doesn't like, he'll ask the person like what agency they're from, what news fucking company they're from, so they can denigrate and demean that instead of answering the question. But this one, he's more curious on how the hell this person knew what she knew. So it's almost like he wasn't briefed on the fact that this Washington Post article came out, and he's kind of being sideswiped by it right now. He's kind of being blindsided, and he doesn't have an answer to it because he hasn't been fucking told about it. And he's kind of curious, like, well, how the hell do you know about that?
Reporting that there's an proposed executive order about this. Are you looking at that? Are you considering that?
Well, she goes on to say there's been reporting to the effect of what we were just talking about. Is that something that you're looking at? And he goes on to say, I think no is the answer.
Proposed executive order about this. Are you looking at that? Are you considering that?
It's hard to hear what he says afterwards, but I think it starts off with no. I'm not 100% sure, but you can tell by his reaction in the first question, like, how the hell do you know about that? Like, he doesn't think that that's something that's already been out there and leaked. So clearly he's not been brought up to speed on that as well. So I just wanted to show you his reaction because I think that was very telling in my eyes. When I started, I was like, you can definitely see that he's curious as to how she knew what she knew.
Tickton attended the New York Military Academy with Trump and was part of his legal team that filed an unsuccessful 2022 lawsuit accusing Democrats of conspiring to damage him with allegations that his 2016 campaign colluded with Russia. Quote, but here we have a situation where the president is aware that there are foreign interests that are interfering in our election processes, Tickton went on. Quote, that causes a national emergency where the president has to be able to deal with it. The emergency would empower the president.
This is them setting up the basis for Donald Trump using these executive powers, using the powers that he's talking about here. So this is I believe, a little bit of the memo, a little bit of that 17 pages that was going around, trying to justify the use of these powers here.
Ban mail-in ballots and voting machines as the vectors of foreign interference, Tickton argued. The idea of claiming emergency executive powers based on allegations of foreign interference attaches new significance to the administration's actions to reinvestigate the 2020 election. Trump has never accepted defeat.
So again, saying that not only would it give him more powers now in the upcoming elections, but would also give him a better chance and more significant powers to go and relitigate the 2020 election, right? To reinvestigate the 2020 election. So you can see how they're trying to use it in both ways here. So not only going forward, but also trying to give themselves more power to lie and go in, and dig up bullshit about the 2020 election, that they would, Hugo Chavez and the Italian satellites. Maybe they'll have an Italian satellite as an example they could show us at some point, or maybe they'll dig up Hugo Chavez and get him to speak at a deposition. You never know, but they're going to go back and try to find something. You can be damn sure.
While never finding the evidence of widespread fraud. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is leading a review of election security that officials said focus on foreign influence. So
and there again lies the connection between Tulsi Gabbard and the Fulton County raid that we saw. Remember how everybody was like, what the fuck is Tulsi Gabbard doing at the Fulton County raid? Like, what does she have as the DI? Like, what does she have anything to do with that? So now you can see how they're trying to tie it into, international ties, with this international intelligence agencies, and they're trying to tie it to the 2020 election. So now you can see why she was at the place that she was at, like why she was, within the Fulton County raid herself, where she has absolutely no reason or jurisdiction, typically in that regard. So it answers a bunch of questions with just this memo that's going around.
And they're trying to create the predicate for this thing. It seems to be an effort to go through, if not with this particular draft executive order, then with the plan that this draft executive order is purporting to create. A 2021 intelligence review concluded China considered efforts to influence the election, but did not go through with them. Tickton said he had, quote, certain coordination with White House officials, but declined to specify, citing safety concerns. But his input has successfully led to a presidential action before. Tickton represents Tina Peters, a former Colorado County clerk imprisoned on state charges arising from breaking into voting equipment, whom Trump said he pardoned.
You guys all remember Tina Peters and the Mike Lindell connection. I mean, you see how crazy this is getting right off the bat. So when I say they might bring in an Italian satellite and try to use it as like justification to overturn everything about the 2020 election and everything about elections, I'm not bullshitting. Like that could possibly, like, we might be seeing Sidney Powell back in the limelight very soon, considering what's being said around here. You know what I mean? I wouldn't put it past him.
November, presidential pardon did not free Peters from her 9-year prison term because the president has no power over state crimes. A White House official said the staff is regularly in communication with a variety of outside advocates who want to share their policy ideas with Trump, but any speculation about his actions or announcement is just speculation. Quote, I've searched the depths of legal arguments not yet articulated or vetted on the
And
subject.
we'll dive on after this paragraph, but I just want to make it very clear that this goes in line with everything else that we've been talking about. This is something that, we can't blow past. This is something that we can't just bypass and say, hey, forget about that. Doesn't sound like it could possibly happen. Like, this is absolutely something they're trying behind the scenes, right? If they're writing up 17-page memos and sending it around and they're detailing it to this aspect and what they could do not only with the past election in 2020, but also going forward with, the midterms and the general election, definitely something that we should be paying attention to.
And we'll be presenting an irrefutable one in the very near future, Trump said on social media on February 13th. Quote, I will be presenting them shortly in the form of an executive order, he said the same day. Is this the same draft executive order that Tickton and his MAGA cultists and MAGA activists are proposing? Or is it something similar but different? Who knows? But again,
thank God, good job there by Josiah at Pondering Politics to be covering and kind of, wrapping up what the Washington Post reporting stated and kind of making it, known to people that probably wouldn't be out there reading the Washington Post regularly. You know what I mean? But this is something that I'm sure will be picked up by others if it hasn't been already. But we need to make sure that we're on top of all these schemes behind the scenes. We need to make sure that we're on top of all these different moves and plays that they're trying in different states. All the memos that they're sending around. So when it comes time for them to fucking try to enact whatever bullshit that they're trying, so we're ready to go. We're ready to combat it. So again, good job done here by Josiah over at Pondering Politics. I appreciate him for doing that. And again, if we have a little bit more time, like I said, it was tough to kind of pinpoint everything. So I got a bunch of stuff pulled out. Not sure how much we'll get into, but if there is more time, there's more to dive into if that on that video. But if not, I can always let me throw the link in the chat for you guys. Let me throw the old linkage. The old linkage in the chattage for you guys real quick. Copy, put in the chat. That way, guys, if you guys want to go check out the rest of that video, you can do so. Throw that in the chat. There you go. All right, on to the next thing here, which is the fact that the DOJ, as we've been talking about lately, is doing one hell of a job at trying to cover up for this administration, not only taking down things that people have already seen publicly, but also going as far as to give these morons who have completely lied to the American people, completely lied to Congress, the ability to hide their photographs for ridiculous friggin' reasons that obviously don't pertain to the photographs that were hidden. So this is from the Daily Beast here, and this is the DOJ gives shameless reason for hiding photo of Lutnick and Epstein. So it was previously reported that they had hidden a photo, this photo that you're seeing on your screen here of Howard Lutnick. I don't know if this is exactly on the same day he had reported or said to have been on the island there. But again, this is the photo that was taken down. And wait till you hear the reason that they took this down and didn't allow people to see this. So the Commerce Secretary was caught lying about his relationship with the late pedophile, as we've covered here a lot. Let me throw this on this. Let me make this a little bigger on the screen. That way you guys can see it. How's that? A little bigger, a little better. If I want, you can dive out of the way. All right, let's go through this just a little bit to again, expose the ongoing cover-up and the ridiculous reasons that they're giving for it. Pam Bondi's Department of Justice has offered a questionable explanation for the removal of a photo of Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick from its public library of files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The photo, which found a downloaded cache of Epstein files, but was later removed from the DOJ's dedicated site, appears to show Epstein and Lutnick walking on Little St. James, the Caribbean island, where many of Epstein's crimes took place. And again, here's the photo. Not sure if this is supposed to be his kids over there on the left, and I definitely don't know who this scumbag almost looks like. Shit, what's that guy's character? Oh, the baseball show. It was like an HBO baseball show. Kenny Powers. What was the guy's name? What was the name of that show? You guys will know in the chat. Almost looks like Kenny Powers here on the right, not to slander Kenny Powers, but I'm not sure who exactly is all in the photo. But again, this is the photo in question. It says the removed photo shows 5 men, including Epstein in white, Howard Lutnick in blue. A DOJ official said the image was part of a batch of files that has been flagged for nudity. So this picture on your screen was taken down apparently for nudity. And definitely has nothing to do with just removal of it because Howard Lutnick is a rich, powerful person now established, now well established inside the Trump regime. That's definitely not the reason that the DOJ would take this picture down and flag it as coming down because of nudity. It's just it has absolutely maybe the palm tree resembles a penis in some way, shape, or form. Pam Bondi's going to try to tell us. I can't be sure. I wouldn't put it past them. I'm not sure. But yes, this picture has been taken down, again, showing Howard Lutnick here in blue, as you can see with the white shorts, on Little St. James Island. Little St. James Island, right there, where all the crimes took place, or many of the crimes took place, I should say. I should specify. And here's a closer up of Howard there with just a really, really good mood they're in. Just a really joyous occasion. You can tell this was this visit after he had already said he had cut ties with Jeffrey Epstein after that meeting with he and his wife. And they saw the massage table, and Jeffrey Epstein whispered sweet nothings into his ear and licked his earlobe. And then they were like, "Oh, we're out of here, buddy. We're out of here, bud. We can't be dealing with that guy yet." They decided to take their fabulous family and their nannies and their friend's family to Jeffrey Epstein's island some years later. But it goes on here. It also shows three unidentified men all wearing baggy shorts, T-shirts, and button-down shirts, while Epstein is dressed in white T-shirt and pants. In a statement to the Daily Beast, the DOJ said the image was part of a batch of files that had been flagged for nudity. The batch of thousands of images was pulled for review and is being uploaded with necessary redactions on a rolling basis. No files are being deleted, which is unbelievable horseshit. All of the men in the photo are fully clothed. The picture was located by a Gmail site run by two tech workers who have created searchable versions of Epstein's Gmail inbox by downloading all the latest releases. The DOJ explanation for its removal was particularly shameless, given more than 100 explicit photos of Epstein's victims were accidentally uploaded to the portal before being removed or redacted. So again, pointing out the utter and blatant hypocrisy of having this picture taken down and flagged for nudity, but having actual victims, actual survivors in these fucking files, having their information, their bodies, their faces put out there to, for the world to see. So again, the care put this and the little sneaky ways, and they're trying to get around the law, and they think they're fooling the American public. But again, no reason whatsoever for this to be put down. So if this hasn't already been put back up, then you can obviously see what they're trying to do here. But let's see here. What goes on, and it says that Lutnick's trip to the island had previously been revealed by other documents in the Epstein files, which showed the 64-year-old father of four had lied about his contacts with the disgraced financier during an October appearance on the MAGA-friendly podcast Podforce One. He said he had only met Epstein once in 2005 after he and his wife moved in next door, and claimed that he ended all contact the following year. The DOJ files, however, revealed that Epstein and Lutnick traded emails for years, even after Epstein pleaded guilty in 2008 to soliciting a minor for prostitution. I do believe that is Lutnick, his wife, and his son pictured there. The messages show the arranging calls and lunches along with the 2012 trip to the Little St. James Island, which Lutnick told Congress he visited with his wife, their children, and the kids' nannies for lunch. As recently as 2018, Lutnick and Epstein discussed the joint business venture. It's funny that they don't mention what happened with the nanny that was previously being discussed in emails and basically being served up on a platter, as it seems. But Epstein was charged with sex trafficking and found dead in his Manhattan jail cell around 2019, as we all know. Spokesperson for the Commerce Department told CBS News earlier this month, Secretary Lutnick had limited interaction with Mr. Epstein in his presence of his wife and had never been accused of any wrongdoing. Limited interaction. Again, pictured being on the island on Little St. James is not limited interaction by any stretch of the imagination. The Commerce Secretary has not been accused of any wrongdoing in connection with the Epstein files, but even some MAGA diehards have blasted him for being reckless, for failing to apologize for his association. Again, there's much more than that to discover. You can be damn sure. If he tried lying about it the first time, there's a reason that he was trying to lie when he was originally questioned on that podcast. He thought that was going to be it. Like, if he was never questioned about that again, he would have never brought up that secondary trip. He would have never brought up the emails, right? No fucking shot in hell was he going to ever talk about that. He thought he was going to get away with just saying, "Oh, it took me 6 steps walking out of that guy's house to determine I will never speak to that guy again." And if nothing ever came out of the Epstein files, and if nobody ever questioned him again, that would have been that. So fucking bullshit that there's fucking no wrongdoing to be covered up. He was trying to cover up himself. All the evidence points to and leads to the fact that he knows or was engaged in wrongdoing himself and was actively trying to cover it up. There's no other way to read into that. How the fuck else do you read into that? I don't know. Why would you lie about it? If you have nothing to cover up and you had no wrongdoing, you were involved in no wrongdoing, then why the hell would you make up the entire story that you never talked to him again? You disassociated yourself with them, only for us later to find out with the release of these files that you lied square to our faces. You know what I mean? The evidence that you put out there leads to you knowing about criminality or wrongdoing. Not me. I'm not suggesting that. You are. So fuck you, Howie, you bastard. All right. So again, there's been some good reporting done by the Daily Beast lately on all of these things as well. So shout out to the Daily Beast for covering this stuff, as well as the other aspects of the ongoing DOJ cover up of all of these files, the removal of the files, along with like Roger Sullenberger, who did some great work. We brought up his Substack. I think it was either earlier this week or late last week. I'm forgetting the time frame at this point now. It's all getting so mumbled and jumbled, but they've been doing some great work. So definitely follow these people, follow the story, so we can keep up to date on these things as well. But all right, now we dive into obviously what the people are talking about, what the news is talking about, what social media is talking about, and that is the blatant distractions by the Republicans to try to obfuscate from Donald Trump's association and involvement in the Epstein files. Hillary and Bill have now gone into Testify. I do believe, I'm not sure yet, but as far as when I went on, Bill was still in there. But there has been a couple clips that I want to play here. One of them being from this Morning Joe segment titled "Felt So Blatantly Political." Morning Joe reacts to Clinton's deposition, and then we have a few more to go on. I think we have Coma here, acting like an idiot and lying as well. And then we have the Democrat side of things when they were speaking about this. And then I do believe this may be a live feed. Oh, no, this is Anna Paulina Luna at the lunch break of the Bill Clinton testimony. So we'll be diving into that to see what she had to say. We got some iHip clips from Jen and Pumps, and then we'll be diving into a few aspects of the war in Ukraine. So stick with me, hit that like button. I do appreciate you guys for being here. A lot to cover. Let's dive into a little bit of this Morning Joe coverage of the Hillary and Bill Clinton oversight, questioning, and testimony. And I do appreciate you being with me. And again, just to get being used as a distraction, obviously, does not mean that I don't have some things to say about it and some aspects that might piss some people off, because that's just what I'm doing. That's what I do. So let's dive into it here. This is only a couple minutes, only a few minutes of this clip, because we have a lot to get into. We have a lot to hear from, like I said, James Comer, the Democrats, and then Anna Paulina Luna did have a kind of a lunch pail update, if you will. All right, let's dive into it. I appreciate you guys.
Bring in senior Capitol Hill reporter, host of Way Too Early.
What's up, guys? Before we dive in, what's up? What's going on? We got sparkles in the house. We got some sparkles coming in. Appreciate you guys. What's happening? Hit that like button on the way in, if you will. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I appreciate you guys jumping over here. You guys coming from the AI event? Coming from Hal's latest AI event? What was he talking about over there today? I'm telling you, I was struggling to put together a show. I wasn't going to lie. It's so much to talk about, so I didn't get a chance to head over. But I do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Anita and crew, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all you guys. I appreciate it. Hey, Mark, what's up, brother? What's going on, guys? I appreciate you. Let's dive into it.
Ali Vitale, she was up there in Chappaqua, New York yesterday covering Hillary Clinton's deposition. We'll be back there today to cover the testimony of former President Clinton. So, Ali, there's so much to go through here. First of all, the fact that Republicans even were there. We'll remind our viewers that last week they couldn't be bothered to attend the deposition.
Great point. Great point here. You can tell what the Republicans want to get on camera. They can tell, what they want to do as far as propaganda, as far as obfuscation, by the things that they show up to. You know what I mean? Didn't give a fuck about the Les Wexner deposition. Didn't give a shit to show up to that, but definitely wanted to be there for the Bill and Hillary event. You know what I mean? So you can see as to how they wanted to play this up for the media as well. Keep that in mind.
Of Les Wexner, the billionaire who most definitely had a years-long relationship funding Jeffrey Epstein. They couldn't show up.
Thank
for
you,
that
Treva.
one, but they all made it to Chappaqua. Lauren Boebert, the congresswoman, taking a photo from inside the deposition against the rules, releasing it to a podcaster who then publicized it. What was your takeaway?
Yeah, that was Lauren Boebert, who had sent a picture of Hillary Clinton inside of the deposition to Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson then posting it to his X account. And then apparently that led to the immediate kind of pause of the deposition. They broke, because obviously that was against the rules of the deposition. Obviously, Lauren Boebert just trying to stir shit up here. She went on to later defend it in a scumbag way, like the scumbag that she is. But of course, as Republicans, as conservatives, as maggots try to do, just having absolutely no respect or decorum for anything that takes place inside our government, regardless of what it's for, the severity of it, how serious it is, that doesn't really fucking play into their psyche at all. But yeah, so it was Benny Johnson who posted it. It was Lauren Boebert who took the picture. They then went back into it after a break, and that's kind of just to kind of explain a little bit of what he was talking about there.
From being up there, first of all, and hearing from Secretary Clinton afterward.
Well, look, any excuse to go back home to Westchester County for me. But at the same time, I don't think I anticipated, Willie, that this hearing, when a source told me that they were talking about UFOs and Pizzagate, I actually had to double check. Really? Is that actually how they're spending?
And again, to see our taxpayer dollars being wasted, because yes, you and I do actually pay for these types of things. This stuff doesn't happen, without the wallet of the American taxpayer opening up to make sure that this shit happens. We pay these people's salaries in one regard. You can buckle it down to that if you want, but we do provide the money for these things to happen. And to see that in the severity of the case of the Epstein files, with everything that's being talked about, with all the people still walking freely amongst us, all the high profile fucking sickos still out there, that they're being questioned. The Clintons were being questioned at a time where we finally have some people that may be able to answer some questions that seemingly would look to me like they would know something fucking happened. You know what I mean? I'm having a really hard time believing anybody at this fucking point until you can. I don't believe a fucking word from anybody. I don't give a shit who it is. I don't care. I don't see how you could be that high profiled. I don't see how you could be that fucking well connected and that connected to this established fucking ring and not know about any of it. It's fucking, I'm not buying it from anybody. Fucking, if that fucking, if you don't agree with it, you don't agree with it. But I'm not buying it from any single one of these fucking people. I don't care who it is.
Their time here because it felt so blatantly political. And I felt like the politics were very much on display yesterday with Secretary Clinton. I think the dynamics are very different today when you consider the fact that former President Clinton actually
right. So have the time wasted being talked about UFOs, being talked about Pizzagate, and anything other than trying to fucking, dive into what the hell happened, who knew what, and why, how we could prosecute some people going forward is just a complete waste of time, complete waste of taxpayer money, right? It's just a fucking theater. It's a show. And as you heard, a lot of the questions were extremely repetitive when in fact there should be a fucking infinity number of questions that you should be able to ask people associated with the Epstein files and the crimes. It's crazy to think that that's how the time was used, knowing what we know and how important it is to the fucking public, to the world, to get answers to this. And the theater that was put on by Republicans, again, to create this fucking hoopla to make sure that people aren't talking about and focusing on the president of the United States affiliation and connection with the crimes, with the fucking person himself, with Jeffrey, with Ghislaine Maxwell. Melania's connections. Like I said, Melania's got some emails in there talking to these fucking psychopaths too. So let's not fucking forget that.
Have valid questions to answer. And my understanding of what was said in that deposition, and I do think we're going to get the transcript and the video, according to Comer, who has been releasing them within 24 hours or so of these depositions happening. My understanding is that even as Clinton went in the room and said, I never knew Jeffrey Epstein, I never went to the island, I never flew on the plane, her answer when she was asked about that by Republican members of the committee was, you have to ask my husband. And so now the committee will get that chance. And so the dynamics are quite different. And I think some of the things that he's going to be pressed on include how funding for the Clinton Global Initiative came to be. Hillary Clinton, of course, was a senator during that point. So again, walled off from what was happening there. And I think that that means the dynamics today are quite different. But I also think that the events of the last 2 days really do open the door for Democrats to cry more loudly about the need to call President Trump in front of the committee. Comer and Republicans.
Exactly. We should be flipping this on its head, right? We should be talking about, again, the well-known established connections. And if they want to be crying wolf about this, then boy, do we have a fucking story for you. If you're worried about past presidents and their connection, holy shit, do we have a fucking story for you? Because the guy in office right this fucking second, boy, are you going to be surprised when you find out how many times he's listed in the Epstein files. Boy, are you going to be surprised when you find out how close he lived to Jeffrey Epstein, no matter what state we're talking about. Holy shit, are you going to be surprised when you find out how many times he's listed on those fucking flight logs? And even fucking crazier, you'll be surprised to hear all the nasty, egregious shit he said about women and done to women in the past before he even got into politics. Boy, do we got a fucking story for you. That's what we should be fucking turning this around as. And again, not to say that we don't demand answers, from every single person. And again, I'll fucking sit here and say, I don't believe a goddamn thing that either one of them saying. I don't believe a goddamn thing that anybody listed in these files is saying as of this fucking moment in time. Not a single fucking thing. The fact that you could be that closely affiliated, that closely related, that high profile, that well known, and consider yourself fucking just oblivious to everything that's going on, I don't fucking buy it. I'm sorry. Fuck you. That's stupid. It's ridiculous. At some point, you were told you either didn't believe it, didn't buy it, or didn't want to fucking believe it. But I have to fucking believe that you knew exactly what was going on while Bill's sitting in some hot tubs. And, I mean, come on, let's not fucking be stupid here. I want them all taken away. I want them all fucking taken away. Every single one of them that had something to do with it. I'm not discriminating against anybody because of the R or the D next to their name either.
Keep pivoting to this idea that Trump answers questions
Oh,
about
geez, Wes. Wes, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Fuck all you want, but face reality. Hockey kids are not the enemy. You worry about life choices and you are making now. You must love the devil. Even Jesus did not pretend to. Is this a rhyme or a poem? I don't know. I'm not sure. And did you mean to send that much? I have to ask that as well. Did you mean to send that much? Because I don't want to, if that's a typo. But I appreciate the contribution. I really do. All of it's meaningful. All of it goes to help. But let me know if that was a mistake, because it's a little bit more than we typically see. That's all I'm saying. I just want to make sure.
this regularly in the media, despite the fact that when he gets questions about this, he typically just...
Well, you got to let us know that, Wes. You got to let us know in some way, shape, or form that you're singing a song there. Because not all of us listen to the music that you listen to. And some people might think that you just slipped and fell and hit your head on the ice or something like that, Not everybody knows you like I know you. Not everybody knows you like I know you. We're not as quick as you are. But I appreciate the contribution, my friend. I really do. We appreciate you.
Lashes out at reporters for asking them and doesn't truly engage with the substance. And yet, I think there is this clamoring to get Trump. And I will also say, I asked Chairman Comer, in the spirit of nonpartisanship, as he keeps saying, do you want to talk to the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick? And he actually said to me yesterday, that's probably likely, which is a notable and different.
That is a good clip that people have been passing around as well, where Comer actually finally comes out and says, you know what? It's probably going to happen that we may have to put the Commerce Secretary, his ass in a seat and start asking him some goddamn questions. Right? Didn't seem like James Comer wanted to answer that way. Didn't seem like he was really fucking happy that the question was asked, but that was the answer that he gave. Right. So, again, like she just said, that seems to be a little bit of a change as far as, we're not getting to the top just yet. But if we can get Howard Lutnick in there and start hammering away on what he knew and the lies that he told, I mean, obviously that, anytime we can work our way up the chain, that we're gonna try to do that. You know what I mean? So eventually we'll get to the top. We'll get to the big dog. We'll be able to cut the snake, the head off the snake.
Response that I've gotten in the past.
And it was just yesterday, there had been a photograph of Lutnick on Epstein Island with Jeffrey Epstein and others that had appeared in the DOJ material, suddenly pulled down yesterday, raising.
And that's the one that we were just discussing in the in this Daily Beast article here that we were just talking about. In case anybody's coming in late, there's a Daily Beast article depicting the exact picture that was just referenced here in this video here. Let me go on.
Questions there, but that was noteworthy that it was the first time that it seemed like this committee was interested.
Yeah.
And let me see here, because I'm not sure if this is the exact moment. Let me throw this on the screen here, because I don't know if this is the exact moment where he's questioned about Howard Lutnick and whether or not he's going to bring him in, or if this was one of the other times that it came out. But this was the Republicans and James Comer coming out and talking about the Bill Clinton testifies. I think they're also referencing Hillary's testimony in this as well. So let's see if I can throw this on there. How fucking stupid he looks. It just right off the bat, he looks like an absolute fucking blockhead.
Morning. This is a historical day for the United States Congress. We have listened to people all across America who have kept up with the whole Epstein investigation and are outraged.
Have you heard the people that have been asking you to question the president and his affiliation after being mentioned? What was it, 1 million times in this goddamn thing? After knowing everything that we know? Are you listening to the American people about that? But no, not that one.
Outraged by the obvious fact that men and women, for that matter, of great power and great wealth from all across the world have been able to get away with a lot of heinous crimes.
One being in the White House right now. One being that big fat orange dude in the White House. Just saying.
They haven't been held accountable, and they haven't even had to answer questions.
Like the guy in the White House, just saying. I mean, that guy that keeps saying he's been exonerated out, time and time again, where it's just absolutely asinine. And only somebody who deserves to be in a home, like in a straitjacket, could come out and say and actually believe with his own mind that he's been exonerated in some way in these fucking files is ridiculous. But yeah, in case you're talking about anybody that hasn't been questioned the way he should be questioned, or at all for that matter, why don't we start with the leader of the fucking country? How about that? Why don't we just start with the tops? You know what I mean? Is that not? That would be the way to go, I'd say.
About what they knew and when they knew it.
Where does that fish rot from, chat? Where does the fish rots from somewhere? Let me know in the chat. I think it's not the tail, it's not the back, it's not the ass. Where does the fish rot from? I think you'll get that one. You'll get that one. Let me know.
Today, we hope to be able to do as we did yesterday and continue to bring some of the most powerful people in the world in to answer questions. Again, no one's accusing anyone of...
I'm sorry, did he say some of the most powerful people in the world or the most powerful person in the world? I didn't quite hear that. It was jumbled. Let me go back real quick.
People
Let me go back
be able
real quick.
to do as we did yesterday and continue to bring some of the most powerful people in the world.
How about the most powerful person in the world? Can we start there? That would be fucking fantastic. I swear. I mean, we might even be able to solve a whole shitload of problems if we start there. I mean, we might find answers to things we weren't even looking for. I mean, the guy that's now again leaving his Cheeto dust all over the chair in the Oval Office would be a great place to start. The same guy that continues to say he's been exonerated, even though he's listed more times than Jeffrey Epstein himself in this motherfucker.
To answer questions. Again, no one's accusing anyone of any wrongdoing. But I think the American
I am.
people have a lot of questions, and our House.
Yeah, and one of those questions is, why hasn't the fucking president of the United States been brought in? Why hasn't Congress demanded answers from the president of the United States that is clearly engaged in an ongoing cover-up, clearly lying to the American people, clearly called it a hoax, clearly said it was created by Bill Clinton and Biden and fucking Obama and everybody else that has a D next to the name, somehow wrote these files some 20, 25, 35 years ago, knowing that this was going to happen in 2025 and 2026, knowing that this was going to come to fruition. Like, that's the ridiculousness of the shit that Donald Trump is saying. But again, I don't hear them calling them out in the same way that they're trying to do, make it seem like there's so many other people. Let's not focus on the guy in the White House at this point. Como wants you to go.
That committee is committed to getting answers. We're committed to transparency. We've already seen a lot of very powerful people who have been held accountable by having to resign in disgrace from various...
Again, fucking, you don't get to take credit for that. You do not get to take fucking credit for that, for the public pressure being put on people or put on companies because of the fucking people that are, leading these companies and what we've seen come out in these files. You get no fucking credit on that one. So sit your ass down on that, chief. Okay, because as we said, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just the very bottom of the barrel. The least of something that could happen to these people. We're talking about investigations, prosecutions, long jail sentences, and whatever else these people have coming to them, right? We're not talking about resignations. We're not talking about, let me just resign here and step down from this committee and, let me just, resign my seat at this board. No. You're going to fucking prison. So don't be acting like this is a victory lap for you assholes. Don't go fucking hurting your arm, patting yourself on the back there, chief. You ain't done shit yet.
Boards all over the world. We're going to continue to seek the truth, try to figure out how the government failed the victims, and try to hopefully hold more people.
Who's leading that government right now? Who's currently in charge of that government, currently failing those survivors? Is there any connection that you could see in this entire thing that may lead you in a direction that could give you some fucking more answers to what you're looking for? Again, am I asking too much? Am I asking too fucking much here?
People accountable. That's what the purpose of this investigation is. I will say this, it's very difficult.
Well, that's what the purpose of this investigation is, that we're trying to hold as many people accountable that aren't named Donald Trump as possible.
To get people in for these depositions of great power and great wealth. And I used yesterday and today as an example. It took 7 months to get the Clintons in here, but we've got them in here. And we look forward to asking lots of questions that I think any curious media outlet in America would have. Yesterday, Ms. Clinton deferred a lot of questions to her husband today. There were at least a dozen times when she said, "You'll have to ask my husband that. I can't answer that." So we already had a big portfolio of questions for him, and that increased yesterday. So we look forward to that.
Yeah, definitely the moment in time that you guys want to be seen laughing on camera. It's definitely one of those moments. Definitely good optics for people, especially when these survivors haven't, to date, been able to get a meeting at the DOJ, haven't been able to look Pam Bondi in the eyes and say what they demand of the DOJ as far as accountability and justice. Still won't have a meeting with the president of the United States, who, again, is engaged in the ongoing cover-up. But go ahead, sit there and laugh at this. Let's make a joke about this. Let's see if he can, propagandize this a little more for Fox News so they can get a clip for their fucking little media, their social media.
Be happy to answer a couple of questions. Chad.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Explain to us specifically what you need to hear from President Clinton today.
And I apologize. I can't hear the questions either. I don't know why they wouldn't have a mic where the media is so we could hear the questions as well. Clearly not that well set up, but I'll see if I can. Obviously, we'll hear the response.
Well, I think everyone's seen there are a lot of photos that have been released by the Department of Justice, as well as
A lot of photos taken down by the Department of Justice too there, Jamesy boy. Are you going to tell us that? You're going to go on and acknowledge that? A lot of them motherfucking photos being taken down by the Department of Justice after we've already seen them, which is pretty fucking ridiculous. I mean, that's just asinine to begin with. Not to mention that they're trying to, again, call it like nudity and shit. That's the reason that they took these pictures down, as, again, the information, the faces, the bodies, the details of victims and survivors have already been widely released to the public, showing us that you don't really give a shit, but you did a hell of a job, did a hell of a fucking job redacting all the criminals' names in the emails and stuff, the to's and froms. Great job on those ones. And some of them was even double redacted. Like some of them you could even remove the redactions and it was redacted under that. So they don't even fucking know what's in it. But they want to tell us that they've released it all. Okay, keep going.
Seen a state. There are a lot of email correspondence that included President Clinton. We know
Trump.
President Clinton had
Trump.
And Secretary Clinton confirmed this yesterday. Jeffrey Epstein was in the White House 17 times while Bill Clinton was president. We know that Bill Clinton flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane at least 27 times. So those are questions that we're going to ask.
Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know, like we could focus upon a president that has like 34 felonies himself and even greater connections to this whole thing. Because again, you're going to be really surprised when you dive into this whole Donald Trump aspect of this. Once he gets around to discovering that, Chad, boy, is he going to freak out.
Thing that most media outlets have reported with respect to pictures and correspondence between Epstein, Maxwell, and Bill Clinton. These are all questions that we're going to ask today. Yep.
Yesterday, you both told me that you were planning on asking about an email that Howard Lutnick sent to Jeffrey Epstein, I presume about a Hillary.
This is the question about Lutnick, I think, because she just referenced an email or a picture, I believe, about Lutnick. So let me see if I can play this again.
Planning on asking about an email that Howard Lutnick sent to Jeffrey Epstein, I presume about a Hillary Clinton fundraiser. I think that was the one. If he's worth asking about, is he not worth asking in to talk about what he might know?
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting when we hopefully get that video out later today or tomorrow, as quick as we can get it out. I think it'll be interesting what Hillary Clinton said about Howard Lutnick.
And how she said it.
And how she said it. We looked, I think that was Miss Mace with the line of questioning. So there was a pretty thorough line of questioning yesterday between Miss Mace and Miss Clinton with respect
So it sounds to me like they're referencing something that Hillary said in response to a question that Nancy Mace asked during the deposition. Not sure if that's been reported on yet or not, but it seems to me like that's what they're referencing in this case. I'm not sure if one of the follow-up questions is, should Howard Lutnick be brought in for deposition? But he does get questioned at some point. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure if it's in this exact press conference.
Lutnick. Now, I think you all find it very interesting what she had to say, but we're going to continue to ask questions of everyone that shows up in photos on the island and things like that. Yes.
Holy shit. Well, you got a shitload of administration officials to go through. I'm surprised you even got down to the former president, Bill Clinton, because you have a shitload of people actively in power, in charge of not only well-established agencies in our government, but hold a lot of sway over the president right now that are currently listed in pictures, emails, photos, videos, the whole shebang right now. So I'm surprised you guys have made it this far down the list without asking any of the people now in charge of our government into a deposition to ask any fucking questions about their association. It's funny how that works. Again, agenda much?
The Commerce Secretary.
I will be asking for him, yes.
You will.
Go ahead.
What was that? I'm sorry. I missed the, let me see.
Of everyone that shows up in photos.
I want to see what Nancy Mace responded to.
On the island and things like that. Yes.
I'll ask for the Commerce Secretary.
I will.
I think that's when somebody in the background says, will you be asking for the Commerce Secretary to come in? And Nancy Mace raises her hand and says, yes, I do believe.
I'll be asking for him, yes.
You will.
I will be asking for him, Nancy Mace says. And I do believe that's in reference to the Commerce Secretary. And again, there's another part in here where Comer references it a little bit more. And like I said, if it's in this one, we'll talk about it.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, we've heard from Secretary Clinton after her deposition. She described the session as repetitive. She said it veered off topic. She asked about things were brought up.
yesterday too. But one reason there were repetitive questions about Epstein is because we went through every email and every correspondence that implied Hillary Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein communicated often. You all have seen the email where he said that she looks better in person and all of that. Those were questions we asked. So every item of evidence that would suggest Hillary Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein had a close relationship, we went and asked about that. So it may have seemed repetitive.
Which leads to me to believe that they didn't have a whole lot of shit to ask her if they all repeated the same questions. Like, wouldn't that be something that you would draw from that? Like, if they had this huge list, long list of all these things that they could possibly ask, there'd be no reason why they would both ask the same question. Like, if one asked it and got an answer to it, then somebody else would ask a different question that they had. But the fact that it was all repetitive, the fact that they brought up aliens, the fact that they were talking about fucking Pizzagate and shit, leads me to believe that they really didn't have too much in this. And this is more about the media circus, the media event, and making it about the Clintons, who, again, knows anything, lock them the fuck up. I'll walk them to the cells myself. But, to make sure that Donald Trump isn't being talked about, to make sure that Trump and the administration and Howard Lutnick and Elon Musk and the rest of these fucking sicko psychopaths aren't being talked about. Right. So, again, you can see how it plays into their agenda, the way that they're approaching this entire thing. They didn't show up for Les Westerners. Right. That was pretty plain and clear for everybody to see that they didn't give a shit about that. But all of a sudden now the media circus is here, folks.
Because there was a lot of documentation that would suggest that she had a relationship with Epstein.
And does anybody, before we go on in this, does anybody know if this is the, well, I could probably let me just do this while maybe I can kill two birds with one stone and save us a little bit of time. Let me see if I can. I'll just type in Comer and Lutnick and see if that moment comes up where he's actually questioned about whether or not Lutnick will come in. That we don't have to suffer through James Comer's bullshit. Because we do absolutely lose a brain cell. I think for every minute of James Comer. Yeah, here it is. So this was the other day. My apologies. So this was the other day. Let me throw this on the screen. I thought it was one of the more recent ones. Again, a lot going on. Hard to keep track of all this shit. So, again, this is when he was questioned. Would you then ask Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to come testify? It seems like he has some information, and this is where Comer is forced to respond to that one. So let me throw this on the screen. That way I get this right in my reporting. My apologies for giving you the wrong time frame on that one. Here we go.
We're asking, again, and I want to remind everyone, we've already brought in Alex Acosta and Bill Barr for deposition. Yep. That's two.
Yeah, you get no applause, okay, buddy? You get no fucking round of applause. You get no pat on the back. You've done absolutely nothing. You haven't even scraped the bottom yet to hit the bare minimum. So fucking settle the fuck down. Back it down. Back it down. Back it down.
Republicans in the Trump administration. So this isn't just about Democrats. This is about anyone that has any knowledge of Epstein, the investigation. I think we all agree the government failed. The government failed the victims. And what our role is,
Victor
we can't prosecute anyone. But what we have been doing.
Apologies. Victor says in the chat, let me just read this out. Breaking: House Oversight Dems now have the votes to force Commerce Secretary suspect pedo Howard Lutnick to testify. All right, good. Appreciate that, Victor. Thank you so much. Fits right in with what we're talking about here. So I appreciate you guys keeping me up to date and informed. Let me just throw this back a couple seconds and we'll catch up on what he says here in Comer.
We all agree the government failed. The government failed the victims. And what our role is, we can't prosecute anyone. But what we have been doing is getting transparency to the American people. We're asking, again, and I want to remind everyone, we've already brought in Alex Acosta and Bill Barr.
Was that the entire clip? Because I remember him saying more than that. Let me see, because it doesn't seem like that was the full clip there. Did I miss
deposition? That's two Republicans in the Trump administration. So this isn't just about Democrats. This is about anyone that has any knowledge of Epstein, the investigation. I think we all agree the government failed. The government failed the victims. And what our role is, we can't prosecute anyone. But what we have been doing.
So it doesn't even seem like that's the clip that lines up with the actual tweet that they put out. Let me see. What was he wearing? Yellow. So maybe it's this one. Let me see if it's this one.
7 months to get Ms. Clinton in. She answered most of our questions. I'm going to let some of my colleagues lament on that, but we're going to not release too many details of what happened today. We're going to try to get the video out as quickly as possible, hopefully within the next 24 hours. That's a very long deposition. So as quick as we can get that video produced. We will get that out. The transcript will be released as soon as her attorneys approve it. That's the standard rules of a deposition. And I think that I think this was a productive deposition today. I think we learned a lot. There were a lot of questions that we asked that we weren't satisfied with the answers that we.
I'm confused. I feel like people are posting the moment, but they're not posting the correct video associated with it. Am I wrong on that one? Because I know he says something else. If Lutnick is worth asking, is he not worth going to talk about right now? We're going to continue to ask questions of that if he shows up in Epstein Island. Let me see. Is this the one right here? Was I hallucinating?
Asking in to talk about what he might know.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting when we hopefully get that video out later today or tomorrow as quick as we can get it out. I think it'll be interesting what Hillary Clinton said about Howard Lutnick.
I'm confused now because I thought he said something else as far as bringing in Lutnick. But maybe I was mistaken on that regard. Let me see if there's another one here. That's very possible as night will likely rise. This isn't just about Democrats. Let me see if it's this one.
Like you have some information.
We'll do one more question. Go ahead.
So in the spirit of bipartisanship, would you then ask the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to come testify? It seems like you have some information.
That's very possible.
Yeah,
And
this
I
one.
Think I think it's a good possibility that his name will arise in some questioning today.
It'll be on my list.
All right, so that's the clip that I was talking about. I knew I wasn't taking mushrooms, for Christ's sakes. I knew it was out there somewhere. But that's the one where he kind of is backed into a corner a little bit, and they decide to have that little, the anxious giggle between themselves. Like, okay, now we're kind of caught in a corner here. We know that he's lied to everybody. He's pretty much come out and told everybody that he's lied to everybody. It's now in the files, so everybody knows that he's lied to everybody. So if we don't say that we're going to look like complete and total hypocrites. So you can see James Comer kind of backed into a corner on this one. Here, let me just play it one more time.
In the spirit of bipartisanship, would you then ask the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to come testify? It seems like you have some information.
Look at how uncomfortable he is. Like he doesn't know how to answer the question.
The Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to come testify. It seems like you have some information.
That's very possible. And
See, like he's trying to fucking think of the words that he's trying to use here very carefully. That's very, very possible.
I think I think it's a good possibility.
And then he gets into a nervous giggle. Watch this nervous giggle between them all.
That his name will arise in some questioning today.
It'll be on my list, and I haven't.
So again, that means to me that he knows that Nancy Mace, because Nancy Mace was also the one that we paused on, that she raised her hand in the question and was like, no, I definitely intend to call him in. So it seems to me like James Comer knows damn well that Howard Lutnick has a target on his back, but doesn't want to reveal too much. And that's kind of what that nervous laughter, that nervous giggle was all about. But yeah, let me see, because let's go on to the Democrats' response now, because this was Rep. Garcia outside of the same establishment there, giving his insight into what he saw take place. So let's go on and see how that differs clearly from the Republicans' point of view and what they want to see accomplished here. So again, let's dive into this.
Democrats from the committee are now speaking. Let's listen there.
Of the Oversight Committee for Democrats, and we're going to make some brief comments. Everyone's got a few brief remarks, and then we're going to start the deposition. Want to just begin by just saying that what we're interested in today is a serious deposition. We have real questions that deserve serious answers from former President Clinton, and we have said from day one that Democrats want to talk to anyone, whether they are a Republican or a Democrat, no matter how powerful they are, whatever position that they've been in. If anyone has information about Jeffrey Epstein and certainly the horror that he inflicted on so many women and children, we want to hear from them. What we do not want today is a sideshow and questions about UFOs or about conspiracy theories from decades ago, which is what unfortunately happened yesterday when a series of bizarre questions were asked of Secretary Clinton. And Secretary Clinton was clear. She never met Jeffrey Epstein. She never went on the island. She was never on the plane. And she had no knowledge, of course, of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. Want to also add that there are a lot of questions today, whether they're about Epstein's finances, about survivors, about foreign intelligence.
Yep, correct, Steph. That's it. Yep. Sorry.
That we look forward to asking in a way that's serious and dignified, and we hope Republicans do the same. I also want to add one other thing, which I think is really important. Republicans have now set a new precedent, which is to bring in presidents and former presidents to testify. So we're once again going to make that call that we did yesterday. We are now asking and demanding that President Trump officially come in and testify in front of the Oversight Committee. He appears in the Epstein files next to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell almost more than anybody else. So it's time for the president to answer questions about why files are missing from the DOJ, why there's been a White House cover-up, and why we continue in that administration to call this investigation a hoax. And finally, I'll review the call that we made yesterday that we are demanding, again, that the press and the public be allowed inside the depositions so that you can hear the answers and the questions directly. And if that's not going to happen, they need to release a full, unedited review of the questions and video within 24 hours of the end of these depositions. That means that the Secretary Clinton deposition needs to be released immediately today. And with that, I'll pass it along to Mr. Faust.
Thank you so much. Today, we're here to conduct a serious investigation. And it is obvious that our Republican colleagues, at least yesterday, were not here to do the same thing. We've said it many times and we'll continue to say it again. We will hear from anyone. We don't care who you are. We just want the truth. All of us have met with the survivors. All of us looked them in the eyes and promised them that we would see this thing through the end and do it in a serious way.
Pam Bondi hasn't done that. Kash Patel hasn't done that. Not Kash Patel could look him in the eyes straight anyway, but I mean, you know what I'm getting across. They haven't looked him in the eyes. They haven't had the time to meet with them. Donald Trump hasn't afforded them any time to meet with them. So again, a clear sign of who they're trying to protect and who they care about in this. So when the Oversight Committee says, you know, we've looked them in the eyes, it really means something, considering Pam Bondi wouldn't even give them the fucking time of day, wouldn't even give them the honor and the decency of turning around and looking the fucking victims in the face. That should mean something.
Asking questions about UAPs, UFOs, as interested as I am in the subject too, it has nothing to do with this investigation. Don't waste our time. Don't waste the
in taxpayer dollars.
Time of survivors who have been waiting and waiting for justice. Now, finally, the government is paying attention. Members of Congress are paying attention. Stay focused on the matter at hand. We're also calling out the hypocrisy of our Republican colleagues who, yes, we're here to talk with President Clinton today. We'll talk with anyone. But how come people like Howard Lutnick, it seems like they don't want to talk with him. They don't want to talk with the president. They don't want to call in Pam Bondi, who has done everything that she can do to cover up and to slow down our investigation. A law passed by Congress damn near unanimously that she's done everything she can to slow down the release of the files. And even when they're released, and they said members of Congress would be able to go to the Department of Justice to view them unredacted. I know all of us, if not most of us, have gone in there and seen files that are still redacted and not given a proper explanation as to why we can't view them. We know the Department of Justice has deleted things having to do with Donald Trump, has deleted things having to do with Howard Lutnick and people connected to the administration. We know that Pam Bondi has been spying on members of Congress as we've been trying to conduct our legitimate oversight responsibilities. So we're here to see this through. We're here because we know that this is about justice for the survivors, but justice also means that this never happens again. That's why this investigation is so important. We don't want this failure of government, this failure of elite billionaires getting away with a different system of justice. We don't want this to happen again. And that's why we're here today. We are serious about this. And my hope is that my Republican colleagues who say they're serious about it, back it up with action. Not just with the questions you ask here today, but what you do from here on out. It's not about party. It's about this nation. It's about protecting our most vulnerable people. Thank you.
Well said. Well fucking said.
Good afternoon. I'm James Walkinshaw from Virginia's 11th District. I am glad that President Clinton is going to sit down today with us and answer questions under oath. Anybody who had a significant relationship with Jeffrey Epstein should explain what, if anything, and when they knew about the crimes that were being committed.
Again, starting with the most powerful people that are now in positions of power, again, is something that I would also add to that, okay? The people that are now controlling states, now controlling militaries, that are now controlling corporations that are worth more than some countries. How about we start with those fucking people? You know what I mean? Maybe the guy in the White House would be great. And again, not saying that's not who they're going for. That's me ad-libbing at the end of that. That's all.
President Clinton's sworn statement said that he had no knowledge of the crimes that were committed, and I know that we're committed to asking tough questions about that today. But President Clinton's presence here today under oath highlights the Donald Trump-sized gaping hole in Chairman Comer's investigation.
And I love it, the fact that they continue to bring it back to the big guy, right? This is what you should be doing out there. This is what you need to be doing out there. Not denying any of the questioning that needs to take place, not denying any of the responsibility from the people currently in front of you. But let's also not lose sight of exactly why this has been so difficult up to this point. Why so many individuals have been hurt up to this point. Why so many fucking survivors have been disrespected up to this point is because of the person currently sitting his fat orange Cheeto ass in the Oval Office that is making sure his little pawns that he put in place, like Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino when he was in there, and the rest of these fucking freaks like Todd Blanche, his personal attorney, to cover up this the best as he possibly can, the best as humanly possible, focus as much human resources as humanly possible to covering up the people that are involved in this, as opposed to, getting justice and accountability for the victims.
President Trump is mentioned tens of thousands of times in the files. We learned in recent days that files related to an accusation made against President Trump have been removed, not released to the public in the files. And this investigation will not be complete until we bring President Trump in to answer questions under oath. I'm hopeful that Chairman Comer will have the courage to move us in that direction. Thank you.
I'm Congressman Suhas Subramanian from Virginia's 10th District. We're going to ask President Clinton the hard questions today. We're going to get to the truth about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. But let's be real, we're talking to the wrong president today. President Trump is the one who has not released 2.5 million files. President Trump is the one who is blocking our investigation. President Trump is the one who wants this to go away, but it will not go away. And so, yes, we will talk to President Clinton today. But moving forward, this needs to be not about party, but about getting to the truth and getting justice for the survivors.
Congressman Wesley Bell here. I'm sorry, these glasses go dark on me. First and foremost, I think what is getting lost in much of this is that this is about justice for the victims and the survivors. And we can't forget that. This is not political theater, which Republicans seem to be interested in. This is about getting to the bottom of exactly what happened and holding those responsible accountable. And that's exactly what we're here to do. And so we're going to continue to keep pushing Republicans to do the right thing. We need to see anyone who has information with respect to the Epstein files or this sex trafficking. They need to be brought before this committee, and we need to have a serious investigation. And I've said it before, as a former prosecutor, I've led these types of investigations, and this has not been a serious investigation by any stretch of the imagination.
I think there's only one more speaker to go after he finishes, and then we'll dive on to the next aspect, the next clip that we got going on here. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share this out. Let people know that we're live. Let people know you're engaged. Thank you again to all the mods, everybody in the chat. Very much appreciated for all the contributions. Hit that Venmo up in the corner. $1 or $2 is all I ask for. Nothing more than that. Anything above and beyond that is totally 100% above and on you. So again, you can sign up for a YouTube membership just underneath for less than $3 a month, or again, hit the Patreon at patreon.com/Boston Brian. We continue. Appreciate you guys.
The American people want to see justice served. The victims and the survivors deserve justice.
Good morning, Congresswoman Yasamin Ansari from Arizona's 3rd District. I am grateful that we are here day 2 of these depositions with Secretary Clinton and President Bill Clinton. We've always said we will take answers from anyone and nobody is above congressional oversight. But let's be absolutely honest about something. If the Republicans want to be serious about this investigation and to the truth and accountability for perpetrators, then we have to look to the most powerful person in the United States and the world, which is President Donald Trump. He is mentioned in the Epstein files more than almost anyone. And just this week, incredibly damning reporting came out to say that there were credible allegations from a woman who said that she was abused by Donald Trump when she was a minor. The FBI investigated this and interviewed this individual multiple times. You do not do that if it is not serious. Further, we need to investigate the ongoing White House cover-up. We know that the Department of Justice has been withholding files. They have been making illegal redactions. The FBI and Kash Patel have been lying under oath. All of these people need to be deposed before this committee. We need to take this investigation seriously. There are more than 1,000 people who were harmed by Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and many other rich and powerful people, children whose lives were literally altered forever at the hands of this abuse. This is very serious. And I think the fact that some of the Republicans on the Oversight Committee feel that it is appropriate to make statements to say that President Trump is somehow exonerated. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna said this last night. That is the most outrageous thing that I have ever heard. Donald Trump needs to come before this committee, and we will not stop fighting until we get the truth and there's accountability and justice for the survivors.
And again, a great use of their time here, not only not shying away from asking Bill all the difficult questions and getting all the answers they possibly can from the people that are now currently in front of them, but also turning this around and letting people know exactly who is responsible for the difficulties that this investigation or the release of these files have seen, exactly who appointed these people to the positions of power that they now reside in, that are now affecting the cover-up, that are now, the DOJ, the FBI, taking out, unredacted files, taking out pictures that we've already seen, people that are associated with the Trump, regime here. Anybody that's in there, they make sure that they blacked it out, they redacted their name, or they took down the pictures. So again, to continuously not shy away from holding anybody accountable, while also bringing this back to, rightly so, the president of the United States, the most powerful person in the world, who has the most questions to answer as far as this is concerned. Like you said, this is now the Donald Trump files that is just kind of has Jeffrey Epstein mentioned every now and again. Right? Like, I think Jeffrey Epstein is referenced in the Epstein files as far as it's concerned, because Donald Trump's mentioned so many more times at this fucking point. But again, good to see them using their time wisely there. I appreciate them in all of their work that they're doing. And before we dive on to the I've Had It ladies, Jen and Pumps having their say on the matters, I wanted to dive into this short clip here, because this is from Politics Girl. And she was on CNN. She was on Abby Phillips' show, which I believe is an absolutely useless show. 99.99% of the times with Scott Jennings on there. Just a more like a Piers Morgan style fucking WWE free for all with a bunch of scumbags on one side of the aisle with some like respectable people on the other side to try to make it seem like it's a both sides issue. Anyway, you guys know my gripes with the show, but this is a clip from Politics Girl where she says the Republicans are using Hillary Clinton as a desperate distraction from Trump, along the same lines as we just heard from the Oversight Committee there. So I wanted to make sure to play this because she has it kind of spot on, I believe.
Well, as my friend Joanne Carducci said, there's three people mentioned most in the Epstein files, and that's Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Donald Trump. One of them is in prison, one of them died in prison, and one of them is the president of the United States, but we're deposing Hillary Clinton. Like, it doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, the government has repeatedly lied about these files. They refuse to release the full files. Then they're hiding the documents, and now they're pointing allegations everywhere except at the president, who is in the files the very most. And this is a huge distraction to use Hillary Clinton, the like vicious, evil Hillary Clinton, as a distraction from what they've actually done. Well, as my friend Joanne,
good use of her time, good use of what I believe is a pretty useless show on there. I do appreciate the time that she spends and other people spend on there trying to get the case across. But I don't believe, especially with the new ownership that we've now seen recently at CNN, that in any way, shape, or form they're going to allow it to get out there the way that they think it's getting out there. Right? It's always going to be this Scott Jennings watered down, muddied, watered bullshit that they're putting out there from now on. But now this is Jen and Pumps, because they had their take on this too. So I wanted to play just a little bit of this before we dive into some of the news going on inside Ukraine right now that has been heating up over the last weeks or months, last couple of weeks, we'll say. But let's just see here. Trump sweating as Epstein case heats up. New hidden evidence against him comes out. And again, this is Jen and Pumps from the I've Had It podcast. Let's just dive into a little bit of this. Appreciate you guys. Hit that like button.
The Epstein case is not going anywhere, not on our watch, not here at iHip News. NPR, we've discussed this in some previous episodes, but we're going to deep dive into it right now. NPR has uncovered that Pam Bondi and her FBI and her DOJ, Kash Patel, Cash Money, cross-eyed lunatic going stolen valor to the Olympics. He and Pam scrub the files of evidence, under oath evidence, against dementia-ridden dipshit Donald Trump. Pop this up.
We have a survivor that made serious allegations against the president. Clearly, the FBI participated in some interviews and discussions with this survivor. When looking at the DOJ documents, there is a manifest or a list of documents and interviews that this survivor participated in and that should be made available to the Congress as part of the document file search. Some of those documents and interviews are given, we've had access to, but there's a series of documents and what appears to be possible interviews that the FBI conducted with the survivor that are actually missing, that we don't have access to. And
again, like previously stated, when you do multiple, witness investigations like that, when you go meet with them multiple times, it clearly shows that you don't believe that it was a non-credible allegation to begin with. Otherwise, you wouldn't, relinquish the time and the resources to continue to follow up on that one. So again, well stated there in the time that the committee had in front of the cameras.
And to remind the public, we're viewing unredacted documents that the DOJ has in their possession. I'm very aware of the survivor, and why these documents are missing is a critical question right now for the DOJ.
Is it a question? I know exactly why they haven't been released. I don't find it questionable at all. It is because Donald Trump is in these files. The allegations are horrific, and they're covering it up. It is corruption 101. The allegations are clear. She was interviewed. This victim was interviewed at least 3 times in a short period of time. If they were unsubstantiated and without any ability, they thought this woman is a nut, she is not credible, they would have, Jewish space laser style, they would have put it in the file, but they didn't. And that, it's not a question to me, it's a cover up.
Okay, so what is in these missing files? What do they allege? Pop this up.
And again, a lot of people have speculated that the worst of the worst has still yet to be released. Right? Without the knowledge of, without having those files at hand, one would have to believe that anything that they have now left, to not be released to the public is the worst of the worst information. The actual fucking audio recordings, the actual videotapes, the worst of the worst that you could assume. So who knows, again, what affiliation, what mentions Donald Trump has in all of that. Still yet to be released when they continue to tell us, no, they've released everything. They've everything that we had. No bull fucking shit they have. 6 million and 3 million are 2 totally different things in my fucking view. And I'm no mathematician.
About the allegations because the FBI discussed them between and amongst themselves on documents that have been released in 2025. And specifically what the FBI says is that this woman says that she was forced to perform oral sex on the president when she was around 13 years old, and that subsequent or during that same episode, the president hit her or slapped her in the face. We don't know where exactly she says that occurs. An FBI document reflects that she says this happened in.
And again, we specifically referenced and showed this file on the show here. So this is the one that they're talking about. You guys should be familiar with it by now.
New Jersey. We don't know who was with her, how she met the president. None of those details are readily apparent from the FBI internal documents stating this. And we don't know ultimately whether the FBI found her credible or not. What we do have is an index of the prior statements that they obtained from her. And in rapid succession, we can see that They interviewed her 4 times between July and October of 2019, and then it abruptly stopped, and we don't know why.
Who was president in 2019? Oh, yeah, it was Donald Trump. Yeah. That's why it abruptly stopped, because Bill Barr was like, listen, you've got to stop interviewing her. And I think that this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, you think about when you hear about horrible the sex crimes with the Catholic Church. Yes. How did people go along with this? How did it get this far? How did it go on? How did it go on? The same thing applies here. And so I expect anybody that works for Donald Trump to be morally corrupt. He is an adjudicated rapist. We all heard the grab him by the pussy. We've all heard how he said he would date and have sex with his daughter, really inappropriate, sexually charged things about his own daughter. And so it's not a surprise that Pam Bondi or Kash Patel, that these people don't care about this stuff. Because if you're going to go work for Donald Trump and you don't have any,
they're literally doing their job. This is why they were put in the positions of power that they were put into, because Donald Trump knew that they would be 100% loyal to anything that Donald Trump wanted, even above and beyond anything they've said in the past on their podcast, like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, anything that they promised their fans, anything that they demanded the release of, anything they promised if they had the opportunity to release, they'd go in there and release. Above and beyond that, their loyalty to Donald Trump was so strong. That's why Donald Trump implanted them into these positions. We talk about how much that he learned or didn't learn, we'll say, from his first administration, but he did learn this much. Like what administrations, what agencies gave him the most trouble, what roadblocks were in the way to him accruing the most power, the first fucking regime, right? He recognized that and knew that he had to install these puppets, these sycophants, into the right positions to allow himself the easy access that he wanted, to make sure that they had these little fucking, fly swatters out there swatting away the flies that were, lawsuits, impeachment, anything like that, fucking imprisonment, all of them. You know what I mean? So he's got all these people whacking the fucking ball out there like it's like whack-a-mole, hitting these things down while he continues to strut his ass along.
Moral clarity that he's a bad guy and he's a con man and a liar, a blowhard, and just obnoxious as fuck to be around. So these people are not going to be. But what concerns me here is these triple Trumpers out in America that have daughters, that have women in their lives. And there isn't this pause on this, because for me, I'm a Democrat. I vote for Democratic.
And again, she's not wrong by any stretch of the imagination. And just for like a small example of this, to the response on my video about the U.S. men's hockey team, which again got a lot of play and a lot of negative reaction to it as well. There were a lot of accounts like, girl dad official, best girl dad, this dad girl, whatever it means, number one girl dad, defending the team, defending the administration. Like it's crazy to see that you would go out there as like somebody representing yourself as a girl dad, as somebody that cares about daughters all around, and is like a fucking the emperor to all of girl dads all over the place, to sit there and see you in the comment sections of people like defending Trump's involvement in all of this and like demanding specific this and that while you can't see blatantly what's in front of your face, is exactly what I think she's talking about right here. Because God knows a lot of those number one girl dad accounts were probably in the Oklahomas, in the Texases, in the Kentuckys, in the Arkansas, in the places that she refers to so heavily.
Leaders, if a Democrat is in this, I want it exposed. I want it brought into the light. I don't care about
exactly, which is why I continue to say that I find it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to believe that not only Bill knew nothing and that fucking Hillary, again, with their high profile positions, again, knowing how fucking well known they are and connected to all of the people associated, that nothing was known. And I'll forever take that to my fucking grave. And I don't give a shit about Bill. I told you 1,000 times I will walk him to his cell myself. I want anybody and everybody affiliated, associated, involved with the criminality or the financial aspects of this taken down, regardless of who the fuck they are. I don't fucking care. And I'm not buying it from anybody, from any of them.
Politics when it pertains to raping children, forcing children to perform oral sex on gross old men, and then getting beat up about it. These are serious allegations that involve serious investigations. And my anger about the Epstein files is bipartisan. I'm pissed at Joe Biden's FBI and DOJ, and I'm pissed, obviously, at everything to do with Donald Trump. But to know that Merrick Garland had this.
We'll end on this point because I want to dive into a few aspects of what's taking place in Ukraine as well. So I'll let her finish her point here.
And sat on this and didn't open this back up. And you see newspapers like the New York Times wash this story and say the Epstein files shouldn't be released. The mass cover up from media to academia to oligarchs to Democrats to Republicans to.
And funny that we just find out that a lot of these people that didn't want it released were also being owned and run by a lot of the people that are now involved in the files. Isn't that funny? I think, what is his name? Massey had let me see if I can find this Massey post, because Massey posted a list of a couple people from a couple companies that have also been taken down. I think a few of them we've kind of gone over and talked about as far as resignations and people stepping down from different positions. Let me see here. See if I can pull this up. Is Massey's? Can't believe I have to go to Thomas Massey's page now. Like, that's just a mind fuck altogether. Here it is, right here. If in case you missed it, former chief economist of the World Bank, we talked about. Former president of Harvard University, we talked about. Former Treasury Secretary for Clinton, we spoke about. Former director of the Economics Council for Obama, we talked about. Former board member of OpenAI, we talked about. Larry Summers has resigned from Harvard due to Epstein files. You're welcome. So this goes along the lines of the oversight Dems and their posts of people that are not only closely affiliated with this regime now and Donald Trump, but also people that have started to see accountability, at least on the smallest level, all over the world. I mean, I know we're looking for far more than this, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, as we continue to say. But, just to continue to show you that people continue to find themselves in difficult and sticky positions along the lines of Mandelson, along the lines of former Prince Andrew there. The ball is rolling, but we liked it to see it get a lot faster and grow a lot bigger, a lot more rapidly. That's all I can say there. All right, let's dive into a little bit of what's taking place lately. Russia has attacked a dam and has flooded a pretty substantial area inside of eastern Ukraine to try to stop the successes that the Ukrainian military has seen try to stop them from entering a certain pocket and trying to exploit that area. So we'll be diving into a little bit of that. I also want to take a look at a nitrate plant that exploded in Russia and the damage to this plant here. And that's going to be an Artur Rehi video. It's been a while since we talked to Artur. I looked at Artur's video, so good to see him back in action, or at least on our screens here. And then if we have time, which I don't know if we will, we could also talk about this Sun video that was put out this morning. Flamingos hammering Russian oil as Putin's commanders face fortress wall in Ukraine's frontline gains. This is, I believe, the front line with Jerome Starkey, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot to get into there. I'll try to cram it into the last half hour of the show. We might have to go a little long. It is a Friday, so fuck them, right? Fuck them Fridays. All right, let's dive into it here. Here's Preston Stewart again. Russia floods key routes in eastern Ukraine. And this is going along the lines of the successes that we've seen down in eastern Ukraine there from the Ukrainian military. Let's dive into it here. Oh, it'd be great though. It'd be fucking fantastic is if I do show you the right video on the screen. That does typically help in the old production of the podcast. So I'll typically remember that from now on. All right, let's dive into it.
Flooding the routes to one of their key defensive hubs in the east. We also have new Russian nuclear threats that tend to come about when things are not exactly going to plan. Now, starting out, this is footage released by Russia a couple days ago showing a Fab 3000 strike on a Ukrainian dam in Donetsk. Specifically, Deep State said, quote, the Russians blew up a dam in the area of the pocket.
I have tried to geolocate this, and I don't seem to be having much success in this. So let me just throw this on the screen. So this is where they say it happened in Oskovia. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, if I'm butchering that name. Let me see if you can see this on the screen. Yeah, you guys are looking at that on the screen. So this is the Deep State map, but this is where they say it took place, right? And then if you look, as we'll go on to look on Preston's video, he circles this kind of area here as being where the strike took place. But if I go to Google Earth, right, and we kind of just zoom out here, it's kind of difficult to see where. So this is kind of the only instances that I would see in the area here. Here's Oskove right here, the village of. So the only thing that I would see is down in this area here. And again, if we could line up his video, I can't put it side by side for you guys, unfortunately. I wish I could. There's probably a way I can, but I'm not 100%. But it looks like it lines up with this aspect, and kind of this area was taken out, or it was, it's tough for me to tell. It really is tough for me to tell, because you can go this way too, and you see this. And this almost looks like that it's the aftermath of said flooding there. You know what I mean? It looks like this area has already been kind of, flooded on. So I'm not sure when this picture was taken here from Google Earth, but I do believe that this is the area in which they're talking about, as far as being able to geolocate that. You can tell kind of by the intersection here on the left, the shape of the water when we go back and take a look at it, the roads here on the side. But that's the best that I could come up with, the closest area that I could come up with as far as where's this strike took place. So typically not that difficult for me to find, but this one, for some reason, I just had a little bit of trouble pinpointing the exact location. But, if you go back and check out the first look of the video on this one, see the shape of the water behind it, right? So if we zoom in on this one now, kind of looks very similar. Now, if we go back and forth and share this one, and you look at this intersection on the left-hand side of the screen where all the roads intersect, and then we go back to this one, you can kind of tell where here on the left-hand side of the screen, you could tell where that would happen. Like, you got the roads coming this way, that way. It's obviously been snowed on in the other picture, so it's a little bit more difficult to tell. But that's to the best of my ability where this took place. So just to kind of give you an update.
So Russia just blew up a dam in Ukraine, flooding the routes to one of their key defensive hubs in the east. We also have new Russian nuclear threats that tend to come about when things are not exactly going to plan. Now, starting out, this is footage released by Russia a couple days ago showing a Fab 3000 strike on a Ukrainian dam in Donetsk. Specifically, Deep State said, quote, "The Russians blew up a dam in the area of the populated settlement of Osakove." And turning to a map to show you where this is playing out, we've got Donetsk here being shown in the middle of the map, Slovyansk, Kramatorsk, Pokrovsk. Of course, this is an area of some of the heaviest fighting in Ukraine. Konstantinivka is where we're going to be looking to start. This is where the
So he does a good job here of stopping on the Deep State map. So you can see this little pocket that's formed here. You understand? So you can see from what is this? Sovlivka to Maiske, excuse me if I'm pronouncing those incorrectly. Or let's go with Stinky. I know what that is. I can definitely pronounce Stinky. That's one that I'm familiar with. But anyway, you can see this little pocket that has formed. So you can see what the Russians were trying to achieve as far as not allowing the goods, the weapons, the ammunition, the transportation, basically to cut off the supply routes to this area so that they weren't able to resupply any forces in the area is basically what happened. So this is a pretty good picture here, as you can see, of the pocket that has formed and basically what they were trying to obtain as far as the goals on stopping the resupply routes. As you'll go on in here, it's not going to completely stop the resupply of this area as there are other routes available, but it will do, a little bit to hinder the resupply and to make the trucks either go along a route or stop them altogether for a certain period of time until the water goes down to a specific level or goes down to the level in which they can cross it again. But he goes on and does a great job of explaining it, but I figured I'd stop here because you can clearly see the pocket here that's formed.
Was dropped to cut off Ukraine's ability to keep this pocket resupplied. So you'll see here just to the northwest, Osakove, right here, one of the access points moving into Konstantinivka. The dam that was hit, I believe, was right here. So just to the south of that location. And we've got some footage that will play showing the.
And I mean, I hate to stop it, but to me, that doesn't even look like there's like a body of water there. You know what I mean? Which kind of confused me right off the bat. It looks like the body of water is more further south here, if I'm not mistaken. At least it's just a tough way to tell from the angle and from the depiction here on the Deep State map. But it looks like this would be the area down here, if I'm not mistaken, in which the dam would be hit. I mean, I could be wrong. Like I said, it's tough for me to kind of geolocate it on the map, so I can't say specifically. But I would just that would be my guess. But what do I know?
Was right here, so just to the south of that location. And we've got some footage that will play showing the fallout of that, but that is going to make, according to Ukrainian sources, it's significantly harder to keep this area of Konstantinivka supplied. Again, turning back to Deep State and their assessment, they said the enemy is increasing its activity in the battles.
Yeah, you can see on the back screen, playing in the background, the damage from the dam break and the widespread places that have been flooded in the background there.
Konstantinivka, trying to affect the logistics of the city. Initially, the Russians destroyed one of the bridges on the northwestern outskirts to worsen the logistics. However, the Ukrainian military began to build alternate routes, which did not greatly affect the enemy's plans. So the Russians decided to use a 3-ton guided aerial bomb at night, destroying a dam in the settlement of Osikove. The result.
By that, it looks like it just missed that. And again, I don't know when this was taken, if this was like right at the beginning and there's a substantial more water that has flown into this territory since then. But it looks like by this that most of that, village or town has kind of evaded the worst of it. As far as this picture is concerned, like I said, I don't know if this is, consistent with what it looks like now, or if this is at the beginnings. Again, this was probably most likely taken by the Russians after the dam break to kind of confirm the destruction.
Guided aerial bomb at night, destroying a dam in the settlement of Osikove. The result was the flooding of the area, where the water reached the Druskivka-Konstantinivka road, turning a section into a solid swamp, and passage through it currently impossible, according to the soldiers
It
themselves.
does look like it's flowing pretty good, so one would probably have to assume that it's early on, and that it did get probably substantially worse than this now that you look at it and how fast it's flowing.
It cannot be said that the logistics to the city will be completely stopped, because there are other routes through which supplies, movement, etc. will be organized. However, the Russians have definitely managed to worsen it.
There's a clear shot there of a road being completely cut off here. You can see, I'm sure, assuming the road went this way along this direction, which obviously is unusable at this point. So you can see exactly what they're talking about.
At least for a certain period of time. Another violation of the norms of international humanitarian law by the Russians, but this is another indicator that the Russians are increasing their attention to Konstantinivka.
Another thing we need to continuously remember is, again, how the international law rules and play into this factor as well.
And the impact on logistics is the beginning of preparations for more decisive actions of further concentrated and defined forces. Because today, they are probing our defensive perimeter and looking for weak points to get into the city. The southwestern portion in the area of Ilinivka and Berestevka is a warning sign. So again, we have seen, going back to the map here to show the situation in Konstantinivka, that
I'm just going to let him go on with this, and then we'll dive on to, again, the plant that was hit inside of Russia that definitely didn't fare too well. These Russians and their cigarettes, they're getting really careless, man. They're getting really careless, and it destroyed a pretty sizable plant that was responsible for a pretty sizable percentage of the nitrate that went into the farming of the Russians. So again, as they're going into farming season, as the winter, they come out of the thaw here, and they go to be planting some shit. They're going to see a lot less of what they're trying to get, and I'm assuming it's going to be a lot more expensive when they do get their hands on it. So again, I'll let him finish this, and then we'll go on to the next video.
I feel like it's not getting as much attention as it probably should. We are going to talk about the Ukrainian attacks in Zaporizhia here in a minute, but Krovsk and Dobropilya, of course, to the west here, getting a lot of focus, as they should. And then all of this kind of hinges on or leans to what happens with Sloviansk and Kramatorsk, the hub of Ukrainian defensive operations in the east. Konstantinivka is kind of flying under the radar and has for a while, but we have in recent months seen Russian forces start to push north into these two areas in the southwest. Again, that's confirmed by Deep State map here. And now with the flooding of this general area to the northwest, it does limit how Ukraine is able to get in and out of the city of Konstantinivka itself.
So again, this is why I like Preston, and we'll dive on from this from here. This is why I like him, because he stays grounded. Like, as a lot of people are continuously talking about the successes, and rightly so, that the Ukrainian military has seen lately. Like, we cannot be too blinded to the realities of war and how there's different realities and different positions and different, spots on the front. So, things may be going well in one area, and we also have to talk about things not going well in another area and how we need to overcome that. So we need to stay grounded in the reality of, not getting caught up in the collapse of the Russian front lines, or, could this be the end type of videos, you know what I mean? And I think Preston does a great job of that. So diving on here to some of the Ukrainian successes that we do want to continue to highlight. This is Artur Rehi's video. And again, we don't have to dive into the entire thing here, more of just the beginning where he talks about the Russian ammonium nitrate plant that was hit by the Ukrainians and showing the damage that was done to this. So again, we always like to highlight these successes both inside of Ukraine and inside of Russia that the Ukrainian military sees. So let's dive into this one. Slava Ukraini, we have just hit 70%. We'll talk about it in a bit. We have hit 70% on our campaign. Our goal with the NAFO boys, with the 69th Sneffer Brigade, and with Help 99, who Artur Rehi is heavily involved in, as you can see by the number of patches behind his head. You can see how many times that he's been involved in different campaigns and stuff like that. So ourselves here at Blunt Politics started a campaign, and we are now 70% of the way there, raised damn near 15,000 euro at this point, if not beyond that. Which is a pretty substantial chunk of change for a channel of this size to be raising. So I appreciate you guys. Let's dive into this one again. Slava Ukraine, Heroyam Slava.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back. It's Friday, the end of the week. You know what that means. Time to open a cold brewski with the friends, or perhaps a nice little classy art wine from Bakhmut. We'll get to it. But before you go on to your weekend, I need you to know what exploded in Russia and rear areas. We have factories, two of them actually, which went up in flames in a beautiful manner. First of them happened 2 days ago. 25th of February, it was an ammonium nitrate factory or production facility. That's a better way to say that. And it was responsible for making about 10% of the entire Russian production of ammonium nitrate.
So again, that's a substantial chunk of, 10% of the entire, output of ammonium nitrate for the entire country of Russia comes from this one facility, this one factory. And wait till you see, look at how beautiful it looks now. Look at the beauty of that. I mean, I know it's a steel monster, but it looks a lot better right now on your screen than it will on your screen in about 35 seconds, let's just say.
So that's a big loss. And we have a before and after photo right here.
The before? Well, look at the before. Look at that green grass, smoke coming out, actually producing shit.
Before photo is taken in the summer by satellites. Don't mind the green grass. That was the only one we got. But the after photo, that's taken right now.
Jesus, look at it now. Look at that shit. Looks a little bit different. Looks a little bit different, I'd say. I mean, not only is it winter, as you can tell, but it looks a little bit different as far as the factory is concerned. I'm noticing a slight difference. It's a little bit, I don't know, a little bit darker than it was before.
Now, after the strike, there's snow everywhere and this massive black hole. Now, that's what I like to see in the Russian factories, this massive black burnt spot. That's beautiful. That's what I need in my Friday. Look at that. Look at the difference. Usually when Ukrainian drones hit, you see one small building burning or entry pointing to the roof, for example, a hole. But this whole area burned to the crisp. I don't know why. I don't know how this fire spread like that. But it must have been connected to horrible fire safety.
No, I think Ellen had it right on. Ellen, I think you were right on when you talked about the explosive nature of what they're producing there. And again, it wouldn't take much, you would suspect, for something like that to take place, considering the different areas of the production or where the stuff is stored, different protocols that I'm sure the Russians haven't fucking taken. As far as making sure you could confine a fire to one specific area of the facility and not have it spread like you see it spread on your screen. So I think Ellen's spot on in that regard. In case we can send that comment right to Arthur, he'll get some more answers. So I appreciate you guys in the chat.
The measures in the Russian factories. I mean, the workers are smoking so carelessly. Ukrainian drones completely destroyed ammonium nitrate production facilities at a fertilizer plant in Dorogobush, I don't know. February 25th.
See, and give me a break. He's Estonian, and he even has trouble with these names of the places. So come on.
26. Triggering a chain of explosions across storage and transport areas. The site accounted for about 10% of Russia's ammonium nitrate output in 2024.
And again, I don't think we can minimize the impact that will have going forward when, again, the farming season gets into swing, not only with the cost of ammonium nitrate for people that can get their hands on it, but for the people that can't get their hands on it, what it means for a huge population of Russians that grow their own shit. Again, that don't live within the city boundaries of St. Pete or Moscow or any of these other, more populated, more well-funded areas of Russia. As soon as you get outside of the populated areas, boy, does it look a lot fucking different. And people heavily are relied upon, what they can grow in the space that they have. So when they can't get there, and again, I'm sure a lot of these people that we're speaking about don't necessarily get their hands on a lot of ammonium nitrate, but if we're talking about, mass production facilities, if we're talking about more industrial sized, farming production facilities, they're going to be expending a lot more money trying to, do this, which meant they're going to have cuts, or they're going to cut production, or they're going to, again, they're not going to eat the cost. So it's going to go down to the Russian citizen themselves in some way, shape, or form. You can bet your ass. You know what I mean? So not to minimize how this is going to play out in the future, which is exactly why Ukraine is doing it.
Here is even a better before photo from the summer, what the facility used to look like. So clean and crisp. It would be such a shame if it burned to a crisp. Oh, that actually rhymed nice. We also have a photo of these two production towers right here, smoking, reminding me of something. I don't want to say what. It's not my place, but if you recognize this, you recognize it. That's all I'm going to say about this. All right, enough about that facility. Let's move on to the Iskander production.
And again, he'll go on to depict this one, and then we'll move on and talk about the frontline video after this. I appreciate you guys.
Planned Iskander, the Russian ballistic missiles that they produced in this specific facility. Well, Ukrainians sent flamingos there, and it happened almost a week ago. But only now we got an actual CCTV footage of these beautiful pink birds flying into this facility. Look at that. Wait for it. Wait for it. Bada boom. The whole camera is shaking.
Let's get that one more time. One more time. I'll get out of the way so you guys can see it.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Bada boom. The whole camera is shaking. This CCTV with the shaky cam and massive explosion honestly reminds me of the explosion on the Kerch Bridge when the CCTV was filming and there was this massive fireball. Everything was shaking. Looks kind of similar, And like the attack on the Kerch Bridge was a massive success, these flamingos are massive success for the Ukrainian military-industrial complex because they are developed and produced in Ukraine fully by the Ukrainians themselves.
Again, and I can't tell you what a huge, what a huge benefit that is to the Ukrainian military. Again, that is exactly what they were focused on when I was there some months ago, and to see them have already, made the steps that they were trying to make then and seeing how far it's already gone, and them producing their own equipment, producing their own chips, producing their own parts, so they don't have to go to China or don't have to go to other, any other country to depend upon them. And to see how far they've carried that out is pretty friggin' cool. So that's probably a good transition into this frontline video in which they are also talking about the flamingos hammering Russian oil plants as Putin's commanders face fortress wall and Ukraine's frontline gains. We have about 10 minutes left. Let's get into this one. I really do appreciate you guys sticking with me as always as we dive into these difficult aspects that don't necessarily have to do with everything that you're living in your day-to-day life, but are very important to us and that mean a lot on the world stage. So very appreciate you guys. Very much appreciate you guys, as an English person that speaks good English would actually say. Thank you. All right, let's dive into this. Again, this is the Sun exclusive, the front line with Jerome Starkey talking about the Flamingos' success here. Let's dive into it. Let me throw it on the screen because that would help as well.
Ukraine has clawed back pockets of territory and hammered Russian heartlands as Moscow resorts to thermite cluster bombs, and its generals face a dilemma, whether to try and flank or face the fortress belt. My name is Jerome Starkey. I'm the defense editor at the Sun newspaper, and this is Frontline, your weekly roundup of the most important news from the war in Ukraine. Before we start today, we have exciting news to let you know that next week we will be bringing you a new show on top of Frontline. All
right, so we'll skip past the There we go. We'll skip past the advertisements or the advertisements, depending on where you're watching from. My apologies.
Ukraine has regained over the course of February 200 square kilometers of territory. Now, it's been a bit of give and take, but according to the Institute for the Study of War, the net gains over the last month have been 165 square kilometers. Is that strategic?
So net gains being taken into account, territory loss, territory gains. So again, putting into account the realities that we were talking about, where you have to look at the front on the whole and not kind of focus in too deeply on one aspect and lose focus of a different theater of the front there. So again, doing the whole net gain is a pretty good way to depict and look at what's been taking place. And overall, even if you take into account all of that, still a net positive for the Ukrainian military as far as territory regained against the Russians.
Is it changing the direction of the war? Has Ukraine stopped or reversed the momentum? No, too early to say that. Is it significant? Absolutely. For three reasons. Reason number one, this.
And again, I do really, I really take into account people that stay grounded as far as this is concerned, because I know it's easy to get carried away with successes for the team that you want to see win if you put it into terms like that. But we really need to make sure that we're not getting too far ahead of ourselves. We stay grounded. That way we don't get too high or too low as far as that's concerned. As long as we stay kind of in the middle and engaged and understanding what's taking place, that'll be where we're most effective, I believe, here. So Appreciate it.
This proves that the myth of Russian invincibility is exactly that. It is a myth. It's a myth that Russia promulgates, that Russia relies on, the idea that their victory is inevitable. Ukraine consistently shows that is not true. They can, on occasion, be fought back. Reason number 2, some of these advances to the south and east of Zaporizhia have pushed Russian forces away from that key city. Russian troops had advanced to the cusp of what military analysts call tube artillery range. So Russian forces would have been able to use artillery guns, howitzers, to shell Zaporizhia.
And again, same area that we're talking about, in which they blew up the dam to try to stop the resupply into this area. So it seems like they're doing more to concentrate, as Preston was talking about in his video, to try to get closer and gain, target more forces on Zaporizhia. So again, this is the exact area that we're talking about in the past videos that we played on the show today.
It has been hit multiple times by missiles and drones, but it hasn't been close enough to the front lines to be hit by artillery. When that changes, then the rate of devastation in cities accelerates. And so significant for that city that the Russians have been pushed back. Reason number 3.
Great point there that he makes, too, knowing what we know from the tactics of the Russian military. And again, they're just a bomb and obliterate type of mentality that they have, pushing the Russians further back so that they're not in artillery range, so that they're forced to use these long-range, mid-range drones, or again, send in men in these kind of suicide type of attacks that they've been known to have recently. As long as they can keep that farther back, then it keeps, Zaporizhia as safe as it could possibly be, considering the circumstances. You know what I mean? To mitigate, to eliminate the ability of that artillery to strike inside that range. So another good aspect that he points out here.
The Ukrainian gains around Pokrovsk push Russia back from the fortress belt. Now, Russian forces, as we know, have advanced in Pokrovsk. They've been making gains around Sloviansk in the north. And ever since the Battle of Bakhmut, they've been pushing westwards from Bakhmut into Chaziv Yar. Konstantinivka, stunning, horrific footage we've seen today at the south of the fortress belt, appears to have been hit by thermite cluster munitions. All of this is part of Russia's attempt to capture what is left of Donetsk, the area they've not been able to capture. And it's important for Ukraine because that run of cities in eastern.
So you're seeing where Russia is losing as far as in the southeastern portion there, and they're not gaining territory anymore. They're trying to take over this portion of the Donetsk that they still haven't been able to again further their stance on the negotiating table, to try to make it seem like they have more power, to again force the Ukrainians to relinquish this area, the Donbass in general. So again, that's why they're trying to overcome the losses and the bad press that they've been receiving in the southeastern portion. And then trying to, again, overcome that with retaking this area here, or taking the rest of the territory that they've been unable to take, I should say, to try to, again, mitigate the losses that they're seeing there, and try to, again, build up their stance on the world stage, and try to build up their stance at the negotiating table, where it's been diminished recently by the Ukrainian military.
Donetsk is the fortress belt, incredibly well defended, dug in positions that Ukraine started building in 2014. If Russia can solidify those gains, for example, in the south, in Pokrovsk, that will give its forces the opportunity to come round behind, potentially the opportunity to come round behind and flank the fortress belt. If they can't, then they're going to have to try and face it to come through frontally. That would be much, much harder. We've also heard, in good news for Ukraine, from the defense minister Mikhailo Fedorov, that Ukraine has managed to dismantle a Wi-Fi, a wireless internet network in Belarus. Why is this important? That Wi-Fi system was being used by Shahed drones for control. So Russia was flying its Shahed one-way attack drones over Belarusian territory to
that's
attack
on
Ukraine,
top of
and it was controlled.
Again, that's on top of the restrictions to the Russian Telegram. That's on top of the loss of the Starlink communications. So now this is above and beyond all of that. They're losing the capabilities to use the Shaheds based on this Wi-Fi connection that was coming from Belarus that the Ukrainians say that they managed to attack.
Them effectively via Wi-Fi. And Ukraine, we haven't got many details, but has managed to dismantle that network. In the words of the defense minister, he said it is having a positive impact in the defense of Ukraine and the defense of Kyiv.
Good.
Now,
Good.
we've passed the 4-year anniversary of this bloodbath conflict, and there's been lots of reflection on statistics, trying to make sense of the conflict, and it's really difficult. And sometimes these statistics are so overwhelming, they're hard to fathom. 1.8 million casualties. That's the estimate from both the Center for Strategic and International Studies think tank and echoed by Ukrainian and West.
I mean, just think, guys, it wasn't long ago. It doesn't feel like long ago to me that we were kind of on the brink of the 1 million, the 1 million mark hit by the Russian military as far as, casualties lost, dead or wounded on the battlefield. So now to see that we're now having to, inch closer to the 2 million mark as far as dead and wounded in this battle on both sides is, again, another dark milestone of this horrendous war perpetrated by the Russian military, perpetrated by Vladimir Putin on the Ukrainian people. So, again, just another sick and disgusting milestone that we have to acknowledge, again, upcoming. Depending, taking in account what has been coming out as far as casualty reports. And I'm sure that's only going to see an uptick, again, as we've explained, as the winter, we start to come out of winter over there, as the weather starts to get better, as the ground starts to thaw, as the days start to get longer. I mean, you can expect attacks to ramp up. Therefore, the casualties and the deaths are going to ramp up. So again, just more destruction and more death to come as far as this is concerned. Again, all perpetrated by the Russians and Vladimir Putin himself.
And intelligence officials. Try and put that in perspective. I'm going to try and put that in perspective. 1.2 million or thereabouts is the estimate for Russia's dead and injured. That's equivalent to the population of Birmingham. That's England's second city. Now,
That's
among
crazy.
those dead and wounded, around 325,000 Russian soldiers.
How big is Birmingham? Hold on. Let me see here. That's fucking wild. Let me see if I can. How big is Birmingham? Let's take a trip. There's Birmingham. Let me see. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you guys can see that. Birmingham here. What's it say as far as... Birmingham is a major city in England's West Midlands. Does it give me like a population? Well, they just told me the population, but it doesn't give me like a size of it. Because that's fucking crazy. It seems like a pretty big area. Seems like a pretty big space. I mean, look at the size of it outlined in red there. So that in the population of that entire space there in Britain is equal to the Russian losses, which is fucking that's crazy to think. I mean, we can't even fathom that here in the United States as far as losses on for the U.S. military. Not even something we can comprehend.
Thought to have been killed over the last 4 years. That is more than the number of people who live in Nottingham, Newcastle, or Brighton. These are big English cities. In the last year alone, according to an estimate published by the BBC Russia service, up to 90,000 Russian soldiers are thought to have died. Now, they've got names. The BBC Russian project have got names for 49,000 Russian soldiers who have died. So they're very confident on that statistic. They predict, though, that it's likely more. It's likely 90,000 based on the information they do have and their knowledge of how much they're likely to have not, how many names they're likely to have not worked out yet. So they predicted, the BBC predicted that the Russian toll last year, 90,000. Now, over the course of last year, as Russia lost up to 90,000 soldiers, it's only managed to gain around 4,800 square kilometers. I'm trying to work that out in terms of death relative to area in a meaningful way, in a way that
we'll end on this point, because this is a point that I've been trying to make over the last several weeks of just how much the Ukrainians have taken back and what it cost the Russians to get that, not only in time but men and equipment, and again the erasure of that by the Ukrainian military in a fraction of the time has got to be a substantial take a substantial toll on the psyche of the Russian frontline soldier, of the morale of the troops overall. Knowing the horror and the shit that they went through to gain that territory and to lose it like that. I mean, it's just, one could assume, I'm not a professional. I don't know how to get into the minds of these people, but, my assumption would be that it does take a good toll onto the people there, getting pushed back, going back and forth, losing, comrades, people that commanders, whatever it may be in that aspect, and having to do it all over again and then losing the territory. I mean, that's crazy.
Can fathom. Take an English Premier League football ground, not just the pitch, but the ground, the pitch and the stadium. That's about 45,000 meters squared. This is sort of back of a napkin maths, but broadly speaking, Russia has lost one soldier killed in action to capture the area of a football ground. Now, if you look at how much territory Ukraine still has left, it's got enough space. So about 80% of Ukraine's sovereign territory still under Kyiv's control. You could fit more than 10 million football grounds into that area. Now, were that a linear projection, that would be 10 million more Russian soldiers required to capture all of Ukraine. Of course, it's not linear. It's not going to unfold like that. But I just want to try and help you grasp what's happening. And there's one more.
Right. Again, to speak of and to reassure people of the amount of territory still left as far as the goals of the Russian military and how much they would have to expend to obtain those goals is another reason why we shouldn't have any reason to capitulate, to give them anything on the negotiating table. Like, why that's so stupid the way that we've been attacking this whole thing to begin with. And I think you guys understand that as well. But I do appreciate you for sticking with me. I know we try to dive into as much as humanly possible here, but let's get into thanking some people, and I'll get you guys out of here so you can enjoy the rest of your day, whether it be hanging with your friends and your family, walking your dog, or enjoying some more content from independent creators like myself. I do appreciate you guys chipping in, chiming in, hitting that good old chat with your opinions. Makes a difference. It really does make a difference. So everybody over the last couple of days, Emma, Damon, Nancy, V, Roxanne, Yakov, Christopher, Candy, always thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Moms. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Belinda. Very much appreciate you guys over the last few days and all of you guys who contributed. Let's get into thanking some people here on the YouTubes. Thank you so much, Nola, for starting it off in the right direction. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for the $20 super sticker. Very much appreciate everything you guys do. Same with Peter. Please make sure we're reaching out to these people, thanking them for their kind contributions. Thank you, Peter, for the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Peter, for the 10 gifted. We the people voted during the Civil War, both wars, all weather events, 9/11, pandemic. We the people, vote now. FDJT, and we appreciate you chiming in there. Very much appreciated. Thank you, Patrick, as well, for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you, Treva, for gifting 5 memberships. You guys are fantastic. Thank you. Make sure we're reaching out again to all of these fabulous people. Thank you, Wes, for your incredibly generous contribution today in a song that I'm not sure what it is, but I appreciate you filling me in on a little bit of that so I wasn't so confused. But, Wes, we appreciate you keeping that chat a lively space. What would we do without you? You're keeping us on our toes. Keeping us on our toes, Wes. Thank you so much, brother. Jordan, what's up, big guy? Good to see you. Bill Clinton has a Secret Service detail, right? I find it highly unlikely that they would allow him to be compromised in any way, and I'm sure Epstein would want the Secret Service anywhere near his nefarious activities. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they got their ways and their avenues around all of that. I know it's probably it's probably a smart speculation and probably something that you could rightly argue, but I have a belief that there's absolutely no way that they don't have their ways around all of this, especially when it's after the fact, when they're not typically in office, and it's kind of more lackadaisical in that regard. But again, everybody to each their own. I do appreciate you chiming in. Very much appreciate you contributing to the show as always. Good to see you. Thank you, Dieter. What up, Deet? Appreciate you. Check your email. We got a collab soon, I-95. Appreciate that. I'll be checking my emails. I got to do it this weekend, as a matter of fact, anyway. So that'll be a good kick in the ass to do so. I appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much for the contribution. Jeff, what's going on? Thank you so much for the 5. Very much appreciate that. Shout out to you. Trump's staff can't spell stink. I bet they can, because I'm sure that's a word thrown around a lot at the old White House. So if there's one word they can spell, I'm sure it's stink or shit or diarrhea even. So I appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you so much for the contribution, though. Peter's back at it. Drones and non-traditional warfare employed by the Ukrainian military, and Dumb Donnie wants to build battleships. Exactly. I mean, if there's not a blatant way to show the different ways in which we're approaching warfare, like we are building fucking World War I style battleships, even stronger and bigger and slower. Apparently. Meanwhile, the whole world is getting on with drone warfare and technological advancements as far as that's concerned. So great. I appreciate you pointing that out, Peter. I appreciate you pointing that out. Thank you, brother. And then JD and Marsha coming in with a couple super stickers. Thank you so much, guys, for everything that you do, keeping this show running. We're on our way to 20,000 subscribers. I think we passed 16K I think we're enough past 16K where I don't believe that YouTube's going to rob me of that many. But who knows? You never know. You never friggin' know. They could do that. So keep subscribing, people. I appreciate you guys. Keep sharing the show out. If you do find some value, entertainment, education in the videos, in the show itself, please share it out to your friends, family, coworkers. Again, you can hit up the Venmo. All I ask for is $1 or $2. I don't sell you anything here. There's nothing hidden behind a paywall. There's no subscriber-only chats that we have here. You don't have to have any money in your pocket to see any of this content. But if you do find yourself in the financial position where you're willing to give up, or you can give up $1 or $2, there's multiple ways we could do it. Again, the Venmo, Cash App. You can do it in the old Super Chat. You can sign up at patreon.com/Boston Brian. I do appreciate it. And before I get you guys out of here, let's take a look at this, because I do want to congratulate you guys as well on being a fabulous chat and doing so much to help different communities. Let me throw this on the old screenage. Appreciate you guys for getting us this far, because we have officially hit 70% of our goal here in the old NAFO campaign. Thank you so much, guys, for helping this get this far. I really do appreciate you guys. Yeah, let me get out of the way so you guys can get a better look at it. So we've raised 14,539 euro. That's got to be damn near $16,000 by doing the conversion rate. Not 100% sure. Don't hold me to that. But our total goal is 20,500 euro to get a truck to the 72nd Separate Mechanized Brigade. It would be a huge boost to the community. It would be a huge boost to the Ukrainian military and the people of the 72nd if we could complete that goal in due time. So I appreciate you guys for getting it this far. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for donating yourselves. Whatever you guys have done to help this get along this far, I really do appreciate it. So I want to make sure that we're doing our best to highlight this and making sure we make this get to 100% as soon as humanly possible. So again, thank you to Help 99. Thank you to the 69th Sniffing Brigade and everybody over there for allowing me the opportunity to help with this. We also have Tom, who's typically in the chat, who has the T-shirt, the Sunflower campaign going on that does a great deal in helping orphans go to the Misto Dobra, $10, I believe, out of every T-shirt. Sweatshirt that he sells going straight to the Misto Dobra, which goes to help, again, the Ukrainian orphans, as we know, need to be taken care of there. So a lot of great things that we're involved with. Whatever you guys can do, I know it's a lot. Everybody tells you to contribute to all the chats and do all the things that you can, and I do understand that not everybody is in the financial position to do everything. Damn near nobody is in the financial position to do everything. So I do take that into account. I recognize it. I'm struggling right there with you guys. I promise you. So again, you can only do so much, and I recognize that. So the liking, the sharing, the subscribing, all free things that go a long way in helping this. So if you find yourself in that position, just do those things. Send a couple messages in the chat. Whatever you have to do in order to raise the awareness, the platform of this show. So thank you, guys. Thank you to the mods. As always, I really do appreciate you for all you do. Thank you, Crystal, Luck Dragon, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, the mods over here on YouTube, the mods over there on Twitch. You guys have been fantastic and continue to be, which is a huge reason why I was still here and able to do this. So thank you so much. Putnam says, my U.S. Navy family and ancestors laugh at those battleship fantasies. The AI illustration was risible with list and capsize slipping off the ways. I mean, I would love to actually sit down. That would actually be a great thing. And I'm kind of envious that you've had the chance to do so, to sit down with people that are very familiar with these things, have served on battleships, familiar with how they function, and kind of the year in which they became obsolete, which was quite some time ago, let's just say, and basically how they would be received today as far as drone warfare, missiles, whatever you want to talk about as far as targeting a large, slow-moving object like that, regardless of how many guns it has. I think we've learned that from the Yamato. If anything, it doesn't matter how many big guns you have, that you're still susceptible to aircraft, and the aircraft today now being taken over and replaced by drones. So I don't see why it would be any different. We know the armor on the Yamato was incredible. We know how many guns it has was incredible. The size of it was incredible, and it still found its way to the bottom of the fucking ocean. So again, I do appreciate you guys and contributing all that you contribute to the show. Thank you so much. I will see you Sunday for the Sunday show. Thank God a day off tomorrow. I got to say, this is starting to get a lot. There's a lot to try to cover. There's a lot to try to cram into these shows. A lot of it is hard to talk about. A lot of it is dark and frustrating and aggravating. So to do this every single day, it does take a toll. So I appreciate a day off every now and again. So if you guys want to take a day and, again, walk the dog, watch a movie, get into a series, make sure you're keeping your mentals right. You know what I mean? Make sure you're staying active and healthy, and make sure that you have the energy and the strength going into midterms that we need you to have. So, all right. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I will see you Sunday. Appreciate everybody contributing, all the mods everywhere. And again, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, if you're sharing this out. Thank you so much. All right. I'll see you Sunday. Stay loud, stay proud, stay aggressive. Keep your head on a swivel. And I will see you guys Sunday. Very interesting show, Brian. That good or bad? I don't know how to take that. With a grain of salt, I guess. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Jed. It was awesome. Don't give me too much credit, though. Don't give me too much credit. Yeah, we got out for a little bite to eat. Very good for me. I was happy to be with Brian Tall, just got out there in the wild. Appreciate you guys.
We always do about this time.
Oh, thank you, Colleen. Colleen was gentleman gratitude in there. I saw that, Colleen.
We're a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat when you ran out the healthy arms. You ran out of really healthy. They had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports.
I'm standing up here bashing the living shit out of Nazis.
Brian, you're drunk. You're drunk.
Oh, get those lights off! Off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off. Army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
What uranium is, right? This thing called nuclear weapons and other things. Like lots of things are done with uranium, including some bad things.
Oh, go fuck yourself. You referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. For the rest of my life, I have the curse that I have little hands.
Hey, you got a little chubby going there.
To officially name the undisputed. When did this come out?
Here's a thought. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls.
It's a new form of vicious violation to our country. We're inviting Americans from all across the country to come. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. The kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing. For miners, do we love miners? I love miners.
Somebody said, is that a Trump statement or is that real?
The undisputed champion of beautiful, clean coal. God bless the United States. They're just getting acclimated. You know what that means, acclimated?
Who will once again be fighting for our freedom. Not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution.
Yes, of course, hence the name. Movement, it moves a certain distance, then it stops, you see. A revolution gets its name by always coming back around in your face. You tried to kill me, you son of a bitch. So welcome to the revolution.
You'll have a group of Venezuelan killers, street gangs, occupying the town with MK-47s. I know that gun very well. I got to know it.
No, get those lights off! Off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off! Call them dumps. Big, massive dumps. They call them dumps. Big, massive dumps. Gettysburg, what an unbelievable battle that was. The Battle of Gettysburg, what an unbelievable... I mean, it was so much and so interesting and so vicious and horrible and so beautiful in so many different ways. It represented such a big portion of the success of this country. Gettysburg, wow. I go to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to look and to watch.
Is there anything worse than white people?
Yesterday's a hard word for me.
My superpower is being honest. I will eat my neighbors.
White people are a mortal danger to you and your loved ones.
Water coming here is dead. The water coming here is dead.
Bad news, bad news. Even when it's good news, it's bad news.
Wrong. You know what uranium is, right? It's a thing called nuclear weapons and other things like lots of...
How do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president? Seriously, how do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president?
Tell the director to call the White House. Do your fucking job!
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful... Give yourselves a round of applause. You're so lovely. Everyone's so lovely.
All right, guys. I'll see you later. I appreciate you guys. Hit that like on the way out if you haven't done so. See you Sunday.
The big, fat, sloppy